And I'll ask the clerk to conduct a roll call, please.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Badaway.
Present.
Councillor Bateman.
Present.
Councillor Campion. Councillor Kiokio.
Present.
Councillor Crater.
Present.
Councillor Diodati. Councillor Easton. Councillor Foster.
Present.
Councillor Gannan. Councillor Grant.
Present.
Councillor Greenwood.
Present.
Councillor Height.
Present.
Councillor Encina.
Present.
Councillor Yip.
Present.
Councillor Jordan.
I'm here.
Councillor Junkin.
Present.
Councillor Kaiser.
Present.
Councillor Olson.
Present.
Councillor Redicott.
Here.
Councillor Rigby.
Present.
Councillor Seaborn.
Present.
Councillor Secord.
Present.
Councillor Cisco.
Present.
Councillor Sorrento.
Present.
Councillor Steele.
Here.
Councillor Ugolini.
Present.
Councillor Villela.
Present.
Councillor Whalen.
Present.
Councillor Witteveen.
Present.
Councillor Zalepa.
I'm here, thank you.
We have regrets from Councillor Morocco today, Chair.
And clerk, I see-
It's Councillor Diodati here, Clerk. I'm here as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Me too. Councillor Campion is here as well.
Thank you.
So call on Councillor Witteveen, please, to read the land acknowledgement statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Niagara region is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Adirondack and the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credits First Nation. There are many First Nation, Métis, and Inuit from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The regional municipality of Niagara stands with all Indigenous peoples, past, present, in promoting the wide stewardship of the lands on which we live.
Disclosures of pecuniary interest. I see none. So before I ask for a mover and seconder to receive this item COT. I'm sorry? Yes.
Thank you. I've received several emails from residents of Niagara over the last few days, and many of them explicitly requested for their correspondence, which is directly related to the single agenda item, to be placed, to be shared with council at this meeting. I'm curious why these items were not forwarded to the clerk for inclusion on the agenda. The emails were sent to you and copied to me and asked to be included on the agenda.
Clerk.
Through you, Chair, the clerk's office didn't receive any items to be included on the agenda specifically.
Thank you, clerk. My question is, Chair, why did you not send them to the clerk?
I'll turn to my staff. Did we receive some emails that were specifically addressed to come to the clerk?
Not to my knowledge, Mr. Chair. However, we did respond to several emails.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I mean, on this point of order, I could start reading them. I have them printed right here and highlighted, the ones that have asked the chair to share with council.
How many are there?
2, 3.
Do you have the ability to
4,
email them to us?
5, 6, 7, 8.
I understand. Do you have the ability now to forward their emails to us?
I could certainly forward each individual one, sure. My question is why the chair, when asked to share the emails with council at this meeting, did not forward them to the clerk?
I
for
have no idea.
inclusion on
I
this
will check
agenda?
with my staff when this meeting's done. But if you want to email them to the clerk, we'll do our best to put them on tonight.
Thank you. Well, I'm in a meeting right now, so it'll have to wait until I'm not busy.
I appreciate that. And on behalf of my staff, I apologize. So before I ask for a mover and seconder to receive this item, I would like to provide a reminder that discussion and questions are to be conducted in a respectful manner and that members of the public may not applaud, heckle, make audible demonstrations of support or opposition, engage in conversation, or display any other behavior which may be considered to be disruptive, inconsiderate, disrespectful, or intimidating to others. So right off the bat, I'm going to come out with remarks for a few minutes here, and then we'll open the floor to any councillors that have questions or comments. So I called tonight's special meeting so that I can hear feedback from people around this table. In that spirit, I have prepared my opening remarks to address the concerns I have heard so far. This is because I truly want tonight to be your chance to express yourselves. I want to hear from you, and I want your feedback. When a question is asked that has been addressed in my remarks, I will be referring you back to my remarks. If there is a new question, my staff is making a note and we will circle back with an answer. I want everyone to be heard, so this will keep things moving along. This is the time for you to reflect to me what you've heard from your communities, what your proposed solutions are, and how you suggest we move forward as I contemplate my response to Minister Flack. This is, of course, in addition to any written feedback you have submitted to your mayors. I probably sound like a broken record, but I think we at least all agree that things are not working as efficiently as possible, and it's unsustainable and unfair to be bringing 25% tax increases over 4 years and a $2.7 billion backlog in infrastructure on the backs of the hard-working people of Niagara. I heard concern around preserving heritage and identity. From Niagara-on-the-Lake, our nation's first capital, to Fort Erie, Pelham, Port Colborne, Grimsby, and beyond, every community has a story and identity. Reform doesn't erase these histories. It removes delays and confusion. There are many creative solutions I have heard to address this, including...
Point of order, Chair. Point of order.
Yes,
You're supposed to be the chair of this meeting. You're not supposed to be taking a position with respect to the matters on the agenda. You're clearly taking a position here.
I am going to continue on. If you want to challenge me from council, go ahead.
Well, I'd like to challenge, if you're ruling that my order is out of order, then I'm challenging your
I'm sorry,
decision.
what? I'm ruling your order is out of order.
Then I challenge that, Chair.
Clerk?
I'd need a seconder for that.
Who seconded? Who was the seconder? So we have to call a vote on that, Chair?
I'm sorry?
We have to call a vote?
Yep.
What, point of order, Chair?
Yes, go.
Councillor Campion?
Yep.
Sorry, I don't have the agenda in front of me, but is opening remarks included on that agenda?
No, it just says consent items after disclosure
Okay.
of pecuniary item.
Thank you. And I would just ask you to clarify, through the clerk, to clarify what a yes vote means in the sense that it supports the chair. There may be some confusion on that.
Sure.
You're voting yes, you're supporting.
If you're voting yes, you're supporting this motion on the screen. If you're voting no, then I continue on the way I was.
No, that's not, got it opposite.
I'm sorry. Should it be sustained, respecting the chair? Oh, I'm sorry. I agree. If you're voting yes, that's for me. If you're voting no, it's for Councillor Redicott.
Point of order,
Yes.
or clarification. I just want to be sure that I fully understand what we're voting on. So what we're voting on is that you as a chair are not allowed to express your views of what you think. Now, is that going to apply to any of us if somebody stands up and says, I don't want Kim Crater to speak because I don't want it, he has the right, I don't want to hear what he has to say. Does that apply to all of us or just
I'm
to
going to
the
let
chair?
the person that made the point of order explain.
Chair, you're the chair of the meeting. You're supposed to maintain an impartial position. If you're taking a position on the issues before council, then you're not impartial. So my challenge to you is that if you're going to continue on, you should be vacating the chair. If you don't want to continue on, you may remain in the chair. That's basically it. It's got nothing to do with anyone else. Everyone here has a right to speak and have an opinion, but in this case, you're the chair of the meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. It's a recorded vote.
Yes. Counselor Badaway.
Chair, I got a question. Chair, question, please. Uh,
Go ahead, Councillor Serrano.
Yeah, yeah, through you to the clerk, and I just need to be clear on this. If the chair were to continue to read this, his opening remarks, does that mean he's taking a position, or is he just reading, just reading commentary?
Does Counselor Redicott want to comment on that?
Councillor Redicott, you get to explain.
Well, Chair, you are reading, that's true, and it is a commentary, that's true. but the commentary contains a position, and that's means you're not impartial.
And I don't agree with you. That's the point here, Councillor Sorrento.
So through you, I guess to you, Chair, by reading this, are you taking a position?
I do not believe I am. Please keep your comments down.
Okay, that's it. Thank you. I'm just curious. Through you, Chair, does the clerk have a position on this or legal? No,
Through you, Chair, it's for council to decide, which is why the motion's on the floor right now.
thank you for the clarification. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Badaway.
No.
Councillor Bateman.
No.
Councillor Campion.
Yes?
Councillor Kiokio.
No.
Councillor Crater. No. Councillor Diodati.
Yes.
Councillor Easton. Councillor Foster.
No.
Councillor Ganan.
No.
Councillor Grant.
No.
Councillor Greenwood.
Yes.
Councillor Height. No. Councillor Encina.
Yes.
Councillor Yip.
No.
Councillor Jordan.
No.
Councillor Junkin.
Yes.
Councillor Kaiser.
No.
Councillor Olson.
Yes.
Councillor Redicott.
No.
Councillor Rigby.
Yes.
Councillor Seaborn.
No.
Councillor Secord. Councillor Cisco.
Yes.
Councillor Sorrento.
Yes.
Councillor Steele.
No.
Councillor Ugolini.
No.
Councillor Valella.
No.
Councillor Whalen.
No.
Councillor Witteveen.
No.
Councillor Zalepa.
No.
So the ruling of the chair is not sustained.
Okay, so I will move on to comments and questions. Clerk, if you can provide a list, please. Oops. No, don't do that. Councillor Chiocchio?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, this has been kind of a gong show in the last few days, to say the least. I did read the letter that you sent out to the mayors. I did watch the the presentations that you made to council in Fort Erie and Niagara on the Lake. And I have yet to speak to anybody, like even my mayor has not communicated with me yet on this issue. So I really don't see any facts here to move forward with this. I just want to be clear that before any consideration is given to something as significant as municipal amalgamation in Niagara, I need to see facts. And more importantly, the public deserves to be part of the conversation through meaningful consultation. At this stage, there are still many unanswered questions. Decisions of this magnitude cannot and should not move forward without a clear and transparent business case, verified financial impacts on residents, service delivery implications, governance structure details, community input from across all 12 municipalities. Whether someone supports or opposes amalgamation, I believe we all share a common interest in ensuring that any potential changes are based on evidence, not assumptions. Niagara residents must have the opportunity to understand the full picture, including costs, benefits, risks, and long-term impacts for any direction that is determined. Public engagements is an important dialogue and are essential. Our communities deserve the time and information necessary to make informed decisions about their future. I'll continue to advocate for a process that is transparent, fact-based, and includes consultation with the residents that we represent. And I stand by that, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Next is Councillor Yip.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. I would imagine that the reason these letters weren't shared with the directly elected regional councillors until well after they were sent and then still not by the regional chair is because the decision has already been made that the next election will not include directly elected regional councillors. So why ask for their opinions at all? It is incredible to me the disdain that some politicians have for politicians. And every single time I've seen this disdain, it has, without fail, been about those disdainful politicians wanting more power for themselves. At Niagara Lakes Council meeting, Chair, you said that you don't believe that any council should be more than 8 people. Upon realizing you were speaking to a council of 9, you backpedaled a bit and said that's what you meant, 8 councillors and a mayor. Upon what is your belief based? Is it simply a Bob Galeism, or are you aware of some data that suggests an 8-member council is the most effective? If you are aware of some specific data to this end, I'd like a very clear citation of that data in your response. If you don't have any data, you can just say you don't have any.
Thank you for the question. If you recall, I said it was my personal opinion when I answered that. So if you want to call it a Bob Galeism, that's what it was.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, in February and June of 2020, I brought motions to this council that would have seen us engage with the public on the matter of regional governance. Both of the motions were soundly defeated by this council, and that's fine. That's how this works. But most of the members of this council who were at those tables last term are being consistent in their decision. One member of this council is decidedly not, and with no explanation. As a reminder, parts of that motion included a fulsome consultation led by a public consultation led by a committee of 15 citizens from across Niagara and questions about how many regional councillors should represent each municipality. If the number of councillors is suggested to be different than it is currently, should members' votes be weighted? And if so, how should they be weighted? And by which method should regional councillors be elected, along with several other questions? It's interesting to suggest that the matter of governance is so urgent now, but it wasn't in 2020, especially after carrying on at several local council meetings that this discussion has been going on for 27 years or more. That said, I will also say that repeatedly saying that one has read all of the motions that have come to this council and the councils of local area municipalities is evidence of nothing. Motions are just motions. They are not data, evidence, facts, research, or anything of the like. What's more concerning is that I watched a few council meetings where comments were repeatedly made that studies have been read, and then, when asked more details about those studies, councils were told that the studies had not, in fact, been read. At one local council meeting, they heard, "I only saw the cover page." With respect to all of the studies that have been read, but also very much not read, let me help out. I'm quoting news articles, white papers, and peer-reviewed journal articles from a simple Google search of municipal amalgamation, cost savings, Ontario. Many studies have found that amalgamations do not lower costs, they increase them. One of the justifications given by the provincial government in support of amalgamation was that it would reduce costs by eliminating duplication and simplifying municipal government. The evidence indicates that amalgamation has not reduced costs. On the contrary, it has increased costs. Our study reinforces earlier research about amalgamation of larger cities, which suggests that amalgamation in Ontario didn't achieve cost savings. On the whole, the empirical evidence on fragmented versus consolidated local governments suggests that consolidated structures are generally associated with higher spending. Similarly, the promised cost savings for municipal amalgamations have proven to be elusive. When municipalities amalgamate, some duplication is obviously eliminated. In particular, the number of politicians and bureaucrats may be reduced. However, when municipalities with different service levels and different wage scales merge, expenditures increase. Salaries and benefits tend to equalize up to the level of the former municipality with the highest expenditures. This upward harmonization of wages and salaries generally outweighs any cost savings. There were huge increases in costs. It really wasn't well thought out. Amalgamation increases staffing levels, not efficiency. Amalgamation drives higher compensation costs. Amalgamation results in higher property taxes and debt. Amalgamation does not improve customer service. Amalgamation has disproportionate negative impacts on rural communities. Mergers that are imposed on communities despite the opposition of their residents are in conflict with basic democratic principles. Municipal amalgamation in Ontario fails to achieve cost savings in cities both big and small. The track record of amalgamation in Ontario and Quebec is not great. Cost savings never materialized. Notable cost increases for the amalgamated communities include, in Haldimand County, property taxes increased 50%. In Kawartha Lakes, municipal employee compensation increased 52.8%. In Norfolk, long-term debt increased 111%. Amalgamation took local control over local issues and shifted that up to a larger supercity. Ontario's push for municipal amalgamation has failed to deliver cost savings and efficiencies promised for both large and small cities. Amalgamations have largely failed because urban and suburban parts of the cities increasingly have different priorities and values. Merging operations, systems, and databases is complex and costly. Hamilton spent $130 million on amalgamation transition costs, eliminating anticipated savings. Forced amalgamation breeds public cynicism. Lack of consultation damages community relations. Amalgamation has made local government more complicated, and this has increased costs. Amalgamation and downloading did not reduce the city's wage bill, they increased it. The harmonization of wages and salaries further increased the city's wage bill. None of this is a surprise to scholars who have studied amalgamation. I could go on and on and on, but it is very much more of the same. And again, I will remind you, this was a very simple Google search. So the question is, now that you know all of this, Chair, are you willing to take the steps necessary to appropriately educate yourself and your staff and properly study a major decision that could have a deleterious effect on hundreds of thousands of people for generations? And just a yes or no is fine. I know you're very concerned about the time we have tonight.
Well, I'm going to answer your question. Thank you very much. So your first question had to do with data. You had a number of questions there that I will address.
I thought you already answered that. You had no doubt.
I
It was
did
your
not
personal
answer
belief.
that. I did not answer that.
You did answer.
To start, the Niagara region and its composition has been extensively studied. In 2000, with the Berkeley Report commissioned by the region of Niagara and conveniently collected dust. This endorsed either 3, 4, or 1 city models, which made a lot of sense. Then we had a 2019 Ken Sealing and Michael Fenn report. In 2019, the Niagara region and the 12 local municipalities jointly commissioned Environics Research to conduct a representative survey of residents about regional governance. The detailed report, including methodology, sample size, and question-by-question results, was tabled with council that summer and remains publicly available at the region's website. It shows that residents generally felt they received reasonable value for their tax dollars, but also identified concerns about too many elected officials, bureaucracy, and inefficiencies. The previous CAO of this very region, an accountant by trade with an MBA, presented reasons to amalgamate in 2023.
Chair, I'm gonna stop you because this actually is not an answer at all
You-
to my question. It's
You
not
can't
an
stop
answer
me
at
on
all
this.
to my question.
This is my answer to your question.
But it's not an answer to my question. This is not the
I'm gonna
question I asked
overrule
you.
you.
This is not the question I asked you.
You
This
asked-
is you stating an opinion,
You're
which
asking
we
for.
stopped you from doing
You're
at the
asking for
beginning.
information behind it. I'm not going to get into
No.
the debate. I'm going to go on with this. They interviewed everybody that had an opinion here in Niagara, and then we had standing committees of the province in 2024. There's been all sorts of opportunities, there's been all sorts of data, there's been all sorts of proposals. The definition of data is facts and statistics collected together for reference or analysis. We have decades of data, every staff report, every budget, every report back, and every rationale for supporting or rejecting a request. That is all the data, and data points to a problem and inefficiencies we need to look at. Cost.
It's his chief of staff, a political appointee, yeah.
I'd like to introduce everybody.
Who is a politically appointed staffer, and I don't recall a time we've ever had a chief of staff and not someone who was impartial sitting at the Horseshoe.
I don't understand the comment there. Thank you.
I don't
He's not
recall-
politically impartial.
I know he's not politically impartial. That's
Oh,
my
Sorry, I
my
worded that
issue.
wrong, but I get you. But he's independent in his thoughts.
Absolutely, he is not.
Thank you. But regardless of that, you're not going to listen to any answers we give. You just want to give a sermon.
No,
So-
I want
so
you
we're
to
good.
answer the question I asked, and you did that. You said it was your personal opinion. The other question I asked was that if you would commit to appropriately educating yourself and your staff and properly study a major decision. All of the things you're saying right now are not at all an answer to
Thank you
either
very
of my
much
questions.
for your question. The answer is, I think they're appropriately educated, as well as myself. Thank you.
Okay.
So next would be Councillor Villela.
Well, thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. I'm more directing my comments tonight to my colleagues, as well as the residents of Niagara that have sent numerous amounts of messages and calls, and I want to just say thank you for engaging in this process. we all heard the Premier's clear message yesterday, and he believes Niagara has too many politicians. It seems to be at the root of all of this. He's not wrong. They did polls, they did surveys, and the majority of Niagara residents felt that way. So I'm here tonight rather than acting defensively. I've chosen to look at this as an opportunity for all of us, an opportunity to be leaders, leaders that we were elected to be. And it's no secret that we, both at the region and at the lower tier municipalities, have had ample opportunity over the years to heed the province's warnings and to get our spending under control and to reduce our number of councillors. Sadly, that hasn't been done. This is not about chaos. This is not about rushed amalgamation. The only thing that should be on the table this evening is about, right now, is about leadership. The conversation is not about defending the status quo. It's about getting governance right. So Niagara currently, as you know, has approximately 126 municipally elected officials across 12 municipalities, with 31 members around this table, including our chair. For a region of our size, that is significant representation. Taxpayers are right to question whether that structure is lean enough, efficient enough, and affordable enough. And I agree with them. We should reduce our council sizes. We should streamline our representation. We should examine and take charge of duplication amongst all of our municipalities, and we should look within the region of Niagara, the structure itself, for measurable cost savings, not minor stuff that we saw in this last budget, measurable cost savings. But reform must be precise, not reckless. And that reform needs to start right now, tonight. Niagara is not a single uniform municipality. It is 12 very distinct communities, each with their own history and heritage, different tax bases, infrastructure realities, rural and urban pressures, growth patterns, and economic drivers. They are all different. Those differences matter, and somehow we must be protected under any proposed new model. Every day, we as councillors, we speak directly to residents about property taxes, about roads, about drainage, about development, service fees, infrastructure backlog, affordability, and the big one, housing, which I can say I probably take about 10 calls a week just on housing. I cannot attend a community event or walk into a grocery store, go for dinner, have a quiet evening with my family or friends without someone raising a local issue with me. And I love it. I love it. These conversations ground our decisions in reality. That different and that direct connection between elected officials and taxpayers, it's not theoretical. It's daily, it's practical, it's real life, and it's essential. And that is why some sense of autonomy must exist. Now, we should be honest about amalgamation, the good and the bad. There are places where consolidation improved coordination, and in larger cities, planning frameworks were unified, which is something we've tried to establish here at the region. Certain administrative systems were streamlined. Those are positive things. But the fiscal evidence across Ontario is mixed. A recurring theme in my research was that projected savings were often offset by wage harmonization, and that's a big one. And Councillor Ip mentioned that, and she's bang on. Service level standardization, transition, restructuring costs, and expanded administrative complexity, all things that need to be looked at very carefully. Amalgamation can improve coordination, but it does not automatically reduce costs. So we need to get that out of our heads. Niagara already benefits from a two-tier structure that centralizes in major services like water and wastewater and policing and regional infrastructure, providing economies of scale where they matter the most. So the real fiscal question is this: what is the ultimate goal? And I'll come back to that. Will eliminating municipal autonomy produce measurable, sustained savings after transition and after harmonization, or will it simply centralize authority while redistributing our expenses? We must not confuse centralization with efficiency. There is a difference between reforming excess and dismantling local voice. I do not support the status quo. I want to make that very clear. I support reducing the number of councillors, clarifying the roles between local and regional governance, ensuring that our mayors focus on their municipalities, because that's where their focus should be, strengthening independent financial analysis, controlling escalating costs at the regional level, and expanding shared services where savings are proven. But I do not support removing the ability of communities to govern themselves in ways that reflect their unique realities. We can modernize without centralizing everything. We can streamline without silencing local representation. And we can pursue efficiencies without gambling on a structural overhaul. One of the biggest, largest governance decisions in Niagara's history, should not rest solely in the hands of a small group of individuals. We need meaningful public consultation. The residents who fund this system deserve a voice in reshaping it. So reform is necessary, but reform must be disciplined, transparent, and grounded in evidence, not assumptions. We can rebuild a leaner system, we can reduce representation responsibly, and we can demand fiscal responsibility. And we can do all of this while protecting the local knowledge that keeps the government connected to the people that it serves. Because reform does not have to mean chaos, folks. It can mean leadership, and this is our chance tonight. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Greenwood.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and through you, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening.
Point of order, Chair. I'm sorry, Councillor Greenwood.
Who's got the point? Oh,
That's me.
Councillor Bateman?
Chair, what are we speaking to? Because we haven't put anything on the floor yet.
What are we speaking to? We're speaking to the reports, the letters that were sent out.
But we haven't made a motion to put that on the floor.
No, we'll get a mover and seconder when this is done.
When we speak to, so I'm sorry, what are we speaking to right now? Because we should be speaking to something that is on the floor. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't seen a motion to put your correspondence that was not sent to council, was sent to mayors, on the floor so we could speak to it.
You had said to get a mover and seconder afterwards. Do you want to do it now? We can do it now. Okay, for you, Councillor Bateman, we'll get a mover and seconder to do it now. I was told to do it afterwards, but who wants to move or second this report? Okay. Councillor Seaborn, and who for a seconder? Councillor Junkin. Are you?
Yes.
Okay, who did I interrupt, or who was interrupted there in talking? I'm sorry, Councillor Greenwood.
Thanks very much. I have a few comments to make this evening. First of all, I've been involved in politics for more than 25 years.
I'm sorry, Councillor Greenwood. I am sorry, Councillor Greenwood. Don't we vote on it to put it on? No? Okay, all right, my apologies. Sorry, Councillor Greenwood.
I'm sorry, Councillor Greenwood.
That's okay. I've been involved in politics for more than 25 years. The topic of amalgamation has been a hot one since 2006, with no resolution, and it's been talked about over and over again. We've allowed enough time to lapse that shows that we have had, and it's not working. 25% increase in taxes is not acceptable. 2.6 billion in infrastructure projects that's on the back burner because we can't afford them is not sustainable. I hear over and over again from people who say, it's not the salaries that we're paying out to the councillors, but I believe it is part of that. For example, 93 municipal councillors, yearly salary approximately 2.5 million. Regional councillors, 31 of them, yearly salaries approximately 1.4 million. 12 mayors, yearly salary approximately 934,000. Chairman's salary approximately 184,000. 13 CAOs, yearly salaries approximately 2,314,000. 12 treasurers, approximately 2 million. The CAOs, treasurers, clerks are mandated by the province for each municipality. How do we make it work? Chairman Bob Gale was appointed by the province to fill the position of chairman of the Niagara region on December the 18th, 2025. He was chosen by the province. The Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing could have appointed someone else, but no, he appointed one of us, someone who knew the Niagara region. And to give you an example, In the region of York, a retired police officer, Mr. Eric Jolliffe, with no political background, was appointed to the province as their chairman. Whether we decide on no change, a four-city region, or one city, it's up to us to decide now. And if we don't, the province will decide for us. Is that what we want? We have a great opportunity to voice our opinions, and the chairman has visited local municipalities to respond to these questions. At this time, never having gone through this experience before, I'm willing to take a big step forward and say that it would be in our best interest to work with our new chairman and to make this region the most enviable place in Ontario. And I'm not making any decisions tonight based on whether I want to get elected in the next election. I'm making my decisions based on what's best for the people of Niagara. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this issue that's so important tonight. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Greenwood. Councillor Seaborn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I begin by saying that I haven't done this much research since I did my master's thesis at the University of Guelph. I've watched every municipal council meeting, read countless emails from residents, councillors, and mayors, and even one from our premier, who assures us that any change in governance in the region of Niagara will be made based on the majority of mayors who presumably have listened to their council and residents to make an informed decision. This should maybe have included your elected officials sitting here today that found out about this through the news report and shared emails. It was highly disrespectful not to have sent this council a copy of that letter. More disturbing that we didn't have this meeting before you made the announcement. May I remind the chair that up until 2 months ago, you were one of us. I admire the fact that you made an effort to meet all councils. I accompanied you to the Grimsby Council meeting on February 9th, where you introduced yourself and heard from the Municipal Council. That was 10 days before this letter came out. What changed? What is the purpose of amalgamation for the Niagara region? I've had a hard time believing it's all about resident complaints. Based on what I'm seeing on Facebook, some recognize the need for some change, but only about 1% of those actually see a region made into one city. Now I realize that by no means is Facebook a scientific source for information, but it would appear that there's no good supporting evidence to your plan to force amalgamation, whether it's one city or four. Maybe it's time to teach our residents what the region actually does, a project that I have undertaken and will share with my municipality at their next meeting. We have big ticket items and an expensive police force to deal with. I take offense when you say we have a 25% increase in taxes over 4 years. Perhaps if we took the police portion out of the regional tax system, it would paint somewhat of a different picture. You mentioned $2.7 billion needed for infrastructure in the region. However, that's the value of the asset, which admittedly needs some attention. Perhaps millions of dollars that we spend on incentives could be used to bring that number down. We'll see in April how that goes. If the purpose of this exercise is to reduce councillors, consider one councillor per municipality. The 3 larger municipalities have several regional councillors, and their combined vote with that of their mayors outvote the total of the 9 of us every time. More expensive programs that benefit larger communities only are paid by the entire regional taxpayers. I recognize the need is greater for the larger communities, but there should be the same representative for all of us. That would eliminate 10 seats. 3 of our communities have or are about to reduce the number of their municipal councillors. Perhaps all should be reduced by at least 2 places. That would reduce it by 18 more, recognizing that Fort Erie, Niagara Falls, and soon-to-be Lincoln will have dropped 2 places. That reduces it by 28. May I remind you at this time that Hamilton's amalgamation for the outlying communities of Binbrook, Winona, Dundas, Ancaster, Flamborough were suddenly rolled into one large city with the loss of their local councillors. In fact, the city went down to 17 full-time councillors with staff at a total cost to the Hamilton taxpayers of more than the combined cost of all 126 councillors in Niagara. Where was the money saving, and what did it cost the residents to lose their autonomy? If you're looking at efficiency, many smaller municipalities might benefit from having the region take over stuff like snow removal, road and traffic work, water and wastewater projects. Economy of scale and hiring known contractors to do the whole area, not just bits and pieces, would be a cost savings. Look further and recognize that region-wide procurement of equipment would also save taxpayers. You mentioned none of these things, yet savings are there, and if we're top-heavy on counselors, there exists a way to reduce some of that representation without harming the ability for counselors to serve their constituents, which, by the way, is the reason most of us are here. In closing, I'm disappointed with the way that this is being handled. It shows some disrespect to all the people in this room, whether it's mayor, councillor, or public. No amalgamation is required, but we do need to take a look at our costs. Thank you for your time.
Councilors, thanks, Councilor Seaborn. Councilor Olson.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and welcome to everybody tonight. I'm sorry I couldn't be there with you tonight in person, but my remarks are directed towards our municipalities because they all need to address the issues of affordability. Tax increases that exceed productivity growth cannot be sustained, and chasing inflation is just getting us nowhere. People are rightly concerned and reasonable in their expectations, and they are telling us we cannot continue down this path of tax increases. We should be grateful to them for speaking up about the stresses and limitation of the property tax places on their lives. I went into the recent budget with expectations of understanding the extent of our financial challenges and to reaffirm the key financial goals and strategies that should guide future planning and to continue building awareness of the results of predictions of current operating and capital spending and funding levels, especially our debt and reserve. I experienced our superior staff, which I think is, I've mentioned that several times. They're professional and willing to share their knowledge and experiences. I saw a lot of vulnerabilities at the same time. Our debt is uncomfortable, let me put it that way, insufficient, backed up by insufficient reserves, inadequate to meet demand or an emergency. There's definitely a short-term perspective of election to election in our thinking, and that robs us of the long-term perspective that you need for a larger enterprise like Niagara Region. I saw the big beginnings of strategic plans that go out to 10 years and a couple of years beyond the term of council, which we think, and that comes out in our focus on our preoccupation, let me say, with the tax rate. It's if you've got reserves, you can make changes. If you don't fund your capital projects and let them build up to the point where you've got $2.7 billion in the backlog, then that's an easy thing. That's easy to say that we're making progress by reducing the taxes to nothing. But all you have to do is look at what remains of our water and wastewater system. It's a system that has been put together without long-term plans. It's been stewardship has been postponed, delayed, pushed down the road, and we tried to do that again this year. This is now we're left with a whole series of inadequately maintained items, and we expect somebody to come in and pay for this. Well, I don't imagine there's anybody who's going to pay for other people's mistakes, and that's basically what we're asking for. So now we have a plan, a strategic plan that makes modest and necessary advances on our reserves and gives us a plan to go forward. I understand perfectly the reason why we should be looking at reducing council. And I'm prepared to be one of the sacrificial lambs with this. But I also appreciate the fact that each of our communities has the capacity to address their own issues. And that capacity is built on a caring, responsible, and independent nature of all of our citizens. We don't need to look like our neighbors to make progress, and I don't really expect that we are going to. But business as usual cannot be where this comes to an end. I appreciate the fact that you've stepped forward, Chair Gale, and because leadership is making things happen and getting things done. Conversations about which the future is held up to be a perpetuation of the past have no real chance of progress in this setting. We haven't even begun to address some of the challenges that come from the seismic change in demography with the old people like me living in the community, and we're going to require more and more care as we go along. We haven't even started with that. That's going to be extremely costly. And if that falls upon us, we're going to need a plan, and we're going to need a plan like we have for our public health and social services that is progressive, and it can be scaled to match the number of people that we're going to face. So that, Chair, is my presentation, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to this.
Thank you, Councillor Olson. Next is Councillor Witteveen.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to start with saying, you know, as a long-standing resident here in Niagara, and also has served on 2 terms as a local councillor, that I'm not opposed to change to make all of Niagara region better in governance in the way our corporation's managed. I believe it's a large undertaking, as restructuring governance needs meaningful consultation with municipalities, their councils, residents, and community partners. We need to come up with a meaningful plan that should be based upon data-driven business cases. I support that we examine our current service delivery models to find the most efficiencies that would reduce costs to our residents without compromising important services. In my municipality, we are the largest geographic area in the region with a relative small population. We have spent a number of years carefully planning our community for the anticipated growth to support the Niagara region's growth targets for 2051. Focus has been given to an appropriate mix of housing for all members of our communities and for newcomers. West Lincoln has always managed its finances responsibly for its residents. So I believe smaller communities like ours need to retain a voice at the table to make sure our residents are part of a larger community of the Niagara region. And as Chair of Public Works over this past term of council, I know we can do better in our day-to-day operations to give value for the money and stay within guidelines and policies that we must adhere to from the province. So in closing, I believe a well-thought-out plan with strong deliverables is the approach we must take, and not hurry up and figure it out as we go. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Witteveen. Councillor Foster.
Oops, there. Come on. It's not coming on. Oh, there it is. Thank you, Chair, and thank you for having this meeting today. I think it's important that we do have the discussion in these areas, to say the least. I'm going to start off by also kind of echoing what Councillor Witteveen had to say. I've been a councillor here in Niagara for 25 years. I've seen the ebb and flow of discussions around amalgamation, changes, all this type of thing over the last number of years. We can point, we can show, we can say, well, things haven't happened that way, but let's put it this way. There really hasn't been a lot of movement amongst our municipalities on making changes, to say the least. There was a couple of things in the letter that you sent to the down to, I guess it was Minister Flack. And it was around the percentage increases. And I think it would have been enhanced, the letter, by talking about policing as it's going on, because our single cost point within Niagara Region continues to be the policing services here at Niagara Region. Over the last, the time frame that was mentioned, policing services went up almost 30% over the same time. And there's 14% already through what I have been hearing being lined up for next year. That's not sustainable. The province needs to be involved in talking about this. Policing services are getting to the stage where it simply is not sustainable. I will say, actually, I'm quite proud of the Niagara Region departments last year. They came in at just over 1%, and that was after you had made the motion and I seconded it, to give guidance at 3.5. I thought the Niagara Region departments did a terrific job on what they did. So I have the Municipal Act that I know and love. I actually studied it when I just finished my degree in public administration, which, by the way, is unusual. They having a politician in a room of CAOs and treasurers and all this kind of thing. But I think we have to be really careful how we approach all of this stuff, because it's very clear within the Municipal Act that it's through bylaws of the municipality that respecting matters of governance structure of the municipality and its local boards. I think it's really important that we do have those discussions here to talk about these things. I was at the provincial meeting that went on now a couple of years ago. In fact, I think all the mayors in this room spoke at that. We all talked about how we were going to have shared services between each other all over the place. Okay, whether that's happened or not is a whole other story. But I just have a couple of paragraphs from my statements, and it remains exactly the same today as it was then. I personally have been asking two questions about Niagara for some time. What are the problems we really have with governance, and what is it that we want to accomplish if changes are made? Besides the fundamental infrastructure needs, we as local governments are funding areas that are outside of our jurisdiction, which I support as they require investments to ensure these provincial facilities are built. But we are investing in hospitals. We are putting monies into incentives within things. These are not our responsibilities, but we have made them our responsibilities. We are paying an awful lot of funds to do these things, good, bad, or indifferent. For municipal governments, we have what I call a fiscal imbalance. There's a huge expectation for delivery of the needs for housing, but as municipalities, we only have the property tax base to tap for funding. That is a fundamental problem with our whole taxation system when this is all said and done. If you directly ask me, and this was at the committee, if structural change is needed in Niagara, I'm in the camp that would say yes. However, our region is complex, and we owe it to all of us in Niagara not to screw this up. I actually said that in front of a provincial committee. The future can't be done with vague notions, biased opinions, lack of public input, and questionable motives. There is no simple solution, and much more work is required to even get to the stage where there's a plan around governance that makes sense. Couple of last quick notes. It's been mentioned many times. We'll call it the Harry Schlang report that supposedly came to us. We've never received a Harry Schlang report here. In fact, when it was all said and done, that particular report never saw this council. We have never approved that report, and it's one person's opinion that came about, and we basically said no, thank you, if we go and do something in this area. So any mention of that report, it is not something that's officially on the record here for Niagara Region, period. And the second thing, and I appreciated Councillor Greenwood's commentary about the cost of governance here in Niagara, but let's also not forget the fact that the cost of governance in Hamilton is more than all of the put together here in Niagara. Okay? So there are no cost savings that are coming into play with these things, absolutely none. If we go and we reconstitute ourselves into a variety of areas, there's going to be new commissioners. There's going to be CAOs that are going to be paid a lot more money. There's going to be levels of directors and all this type of thing. So let's just keep in mind, this is not a panacea as coming on if anything happens in this particular area. Personally, I think we need to be doing a lot more study on this before we move forward. So with that, I yield the floor. So to quote to Councillor Sorrento.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. Councillor Whalen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to start off by saying how disappointed this council has become over the last few days. When this procedure was started last week, the respect of the regional councilors, not mayors, just regional councilors around this table, is pretty well diminished. The letter went out to regional mayors. I don't know what the logic or thought was behind that, but no respect to regional councilors. The letter went out, sadly enough, we found about it on the street. We didn't have a clue what was paying. It was pretty a sad day when I found about this. I had a call from a reporter asking for my thoughts on the letter. I had no clue what letter he was talking about. So it's kind of embarrassing that it hit it off the street. So like I said, I don't know what the logic was, but it was totally embarrassing on our end of it. And I'm sure a lot of around this table feel the same way. So, and I feel one thing, I'm similar to Councillor Chiocchio. We have no idea what amalgamation will bring. We don't know what savings, if any, but it sounds like these other ones have proved opposite. It costs us money. So maybe the model, I hate to toot our own horn, but maybe we should look after Thorold. It was just mentioned about everybody's got debt. Thorold has $135,000 in debt. By year end, there'll be zero external debt. So maybe we go smaller instead of bigger. Maybe we should divide some of these cities up and make some small ones. And to go along with that, Thorold has $15 million in the bank that we derive interest from the sale of our hydro years ago. So again, it's prudent that we go fiscally responsible no matter who we are. And another thing is, we speak about all these debt. The no debt that Thorold has, everybody has debt. So if we amalgamate one of the big guys next to us, and we're forced to mandate into amalgamation, are we going to pick up the debt that these other municipalities have? So if you got, like say, multi-million-dollar debts on either side of us, are our taxpayers going to be on the hook for that? It's not fair. So, Mr. Chair, this letter that we supposedly we're not getting, you said that you want this to be done quick and done. It's hard to believe that quick would mean a thought or process put into place something that we don't have a clue what we're getting into. And for some reason, a lot of people that contact me are exact opposite you. I know you've heard from some people, but I'm sure a lot of us, like Councilor Yip put a whole bunch of letters on the floor there, we're hearing the opposite. So rush into this makes no sense whatsoever. Then there was some talk about different municipalities and amalgamating and what it includes. For example, the city of Hamilton, the 8 city councilors in Thorold make less than 1 city councilor in Hamilton. Plus the fact is they have their own secretaries, they have own offices, own expenses, and other kinds of accounts to go with it. So, Mr. Chair, I ask you, don't rush into this. Let's give some thought to it. I know you want to hear from everyone tonight. Maybe we can have a change of heart and really live it. Not a knee-jerk reaction to this. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Whalen. Next is Councillor Junkin.
Thank you, Chair. Pelham boasts, I am also the mayor of Pelham. So Pelham boasts a high rate of housing growth and responsible taxation. Residents are, by and large, content with the service provision. As such, Pelham does not see either a need or potential benefit for itself from amalgamation. However, Pelham also supports governance changes in Niagara and has several recommendations to make in this regard, which will be the focus of my presentation. Prior to that, though, and for the record, Pelham strongly opposes a one-city governance model, as it would force residents who prefer rural and small-town living to become part of an extremely populous municipality dominated by urban concerns. Pelham is open to real and meaningful changes in Niagara's governance. This should start with the reduction of elected officials, moving jurisdiction over water and wastewater systems from both the upper and lower tiers to a third-party provider, implementing significant cultural change in management philosophy at the region of Niagara, and the absorption of the region's roads departments into local municipalities. While none of these changes is, by itself, a silver bullet, collectively, They would lead to reduced government, cost savings, and an end to overlapping authority jurisdiction while respecting residents' preferences for control over their local affairs. Pelham shares Gail's concerns regarding inefficiencies at the region of Niagara. All residents of Niagara should be concerned by the $680 million in water and wastewater infrastructure backlog. Amalgamation, however, will do nothing to address this backlog. It already exists and pertains to capital planning and the state of reserves, not to local autonomy. Preference of Pelham is flourishing and vibrant community that functions very well. Pelham's high rate of growth and new home construction, close to 3% annually over the past decade, demonstrates that Pelham is and has been an effective partner for the provincial government in building more housing and providing responsive services to the residents. Residents have an obvious attachment to the current structure of their community. It is Pelham Town Council's opinion that residents value having local control over land use planning decisions, festivals, events, and other aspects of community. Therefore, any change to governance should be made with an eye to maintaining these important aspects of community. Oh, I'm sorry very much. If amalgamation is to be a part of Niagara's future, it should only involve willing parties. Such a dramatic change requires thoughtfulness, which in turn requires time and reflection. This current process does not allow for any of that. The Premier has been very clear that he would respect the vote of any majority of Niagara's mayors. I am very happy to hear this. If Ontario ever changes its position, I will point out that 18 months was the time frame provided to Peel Region. Before that effort ended in disaster. Personally, I would expect a similar amount of time to be provided to Niagara municipalities, as this would be far more complicated than a transit amalgamation, and we all saw how long that took. Pelham would welcome an opportunity to participate in any forum that Ontario or the regional chair or this council deems appropriate to discuss structural reform of the regional municipality of Niagara. It's those potential changes that I would like now to discuss with you. Pelham proposes the following 4 action items as serious, meaningful ways to improve governance, improve efficiency, and reduce cost in Niagara. Begin to change items upon which there is a broad consensus. The excessive number of elected officials, particularly at the regional council. Pelham does not require 2 seats on the regional council. 1 voice is entirely sufficient. Weighted voting at the upper tier municipalities exists elsewhere in Ontario and could be implemented in Niagara to address population disparities. My vote does not need to be equal to Councillor Cisco's. His count could vote for 2 or 3 votes, while mine counts at 1. Focus analysis on the water system, which is a major impediment to growth. Water supply and wastewater treatment should not be political issues. This is the largest amount of the infrastructure backlog, roughly $680 million, about which Chair Gale is quite appropriately concerned. No amalgamation will change the size of the backlog. We are in this position because of years of underinvestment, largely due to historical refusal by elected officials to raise taxes to pay for infrastructure. Ontario has shown thoughtful leadership by passing the Water and Wastewater Public Corporations Act 2025, which enables the provision of water and wastewater services independent of politics. Following in the region Peel's footsteps would be a dramatic change that could produce a brighter future, one where the toilets still flush, the taps don't run dry. This needs to be explored, but a good plan will require some time. Let's take a hard look at current regional operations to identify further savings. 3 years ago, the region lost most of its planning authority, which only resulted in 3 dismissals. The rest were simply absorbed into other departments. The size of both the Economic Development Department, which is non-statutory, and the DEI office could possibly benefit from a structural or operational review. Does the region really need as many emergency management staff as it currently has? The region has an empire building culture issue where things always get bigger. The regional chair has correctly identified this as a problem, but the good news is that changing organizational culture does not require amalgamation. It requires conscious thought and effort by elected officials and senior leadership. I pose the question, should the region provide any services for which it does not have a statutory mandate? If we do, I want us to be very clear about that if we choose to continue to do so. There is no compelling argument for the continued existence of the region's roads department. All municipalities in Niagara must provide road maintenance services, and each municipality has a larger road network than does the region. Regional facilities and staff can be downloaded to municipal partners for operational safe service delivery. The question of road ownership could be the subject of future negotiations, as it has capital expenditure implications, but there is no real need for dump trucks or plows with regional decals. The town of Pelham is very open to changes in governance. Pelham has demonstrated that it is a good provincial partner for new home construction, with at least a decade of high growth to prove it. The reward for high growth, open collaboration, and responsible government should not be forced amalgamation, which most of the community I represent does not want. Pelham accepts the criticism that there are too many elected officials in Niagara. It is also prepared to absorb its share of the region's road responsibilities and to explore a third-party water service provider model. We look forward to meaningful dialogue on these issues, and personally, I am prepared to engage in the hard work necessary to meet these improvements. And, Mr. Chair, that is it. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Not a problem. Thank you very much, Councillor Junk and Councillor Kaiser.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm not 100% sure whether I'm addressing this message to you or to the mayors in the room. So it's been an unusual turn of events, as mentioned by Councillor Whalen. And after my sort of statement on my position on what's being proposed, I would like to ask a question, just as a note. So as a representative of Niagara and the Lake and this council, I cannot support regional amalgamation nor this process. Not because I resist change, but because I believe change must be grounded in evidence, fiscal responsibility, and respect for local identity. We are often told, and this is other councillors have spoken to this, that amalgamation will save money. But when we look at the real world examples across Ontario, the record is so far far from convincing. After amalgamations in cities such as Toronto, Hamilton, and Ottawa, independent reviews have found that projected savings were often offset by harmonized wages, expanded service standards, transition costs, etc., which have been mentioned by many of my colleagues. So I must ask myself what evidence would exist that it would be different for Niagara. I'd also like to echo what some of the other councillors have mentioned and really let this sink in. We must recognize that a significant portion of recent regional levy increases have been specifically tied to policing obligation under Ontario's updated legislative framework, the Community Safety and Policing Act. And these costs are provincially mandated. We don't have a choice in this matter. And they will not disappear through amalgamation. Changing governance structure will not change and does not change the provincial requirements. And I'd like to follow up on Councillor Seaborn's comment to provide the actual numbers for overall. Last year, as many of you are aware, there was a 6.3% increase, and 4.4% of that was related to policing costs specifically. I also take issue with the public statements, Chair, that you've made in terms of suggesting to people that the regional budget has increased 24% over the last 4 years without explaining that 14.01%, and that's the number I have for you, Councillor Seaborn, was in policing costs. And if you extract that from the math, and it is math, and I've checked with the staff, that would, if I'm doing my calculations correctly, be 2.5% per year. And if we had taken some leadership, as Councillor Villela alluded to, in some other areas of reducing discretionary costs, that could have been down to 1.5% and allowed us to invest in infrastructure and capital that we desperately need to do. So if our cost pressures are structural, policing infrastructure provincially downloaded, quite simply, amalgamation does not resolve or solve the root issue. It simply changes who manages it. But aside from the fact that amalgamation will not save the taxpayer money, there is also the matter of democratic accountability. Our residents elect representatives who understand the nuances of each community. In Niagara-on-the-Lake, it is our heritage districts, our agricultural land base, and our tourism economy. A single amalgamated structure would inevitably centralize decision-making, and local responsiveness for all of us in every community would be reduced. Amalgamation is irreversible. It fundamentally alters representation, governance, and community identity, and the time frame which with this has been thrust upon us, as alluded to or mentioned by Councillor Kiokio, is, in my opinion, an affront to our local representation. Efficiency is important. As I mentioned, I'm not against change and reform. Financial discipline is important. I have been asking for that from all of you over the last 4 years, but structural change must be justified by clear, evidence-based outcomes, not assumptions. Good governance is not about big structures, it is about effective ones. So thank you for the opportunity to speak. And my question would be, from my understanding of the process, the mayor's responses to your letter would be submitted to the chair's office. And for transparency purposes, I would like to know whether or not those submissions from the mayors will be accessible to the public, or if they will be vetted only through your office.
So I'm going to send those submissions through to the province. If they say that they should go public, then they will go public. They certainly, stop for a second. When they go to public consultation, I'm sure they will become public then. But I'm submitting everything to the province.
With all due respect, Chair, I'm not sure that we've heard that there will be public consultation. We've been told that, or I've heard in the media, and it's been mentioned by you at some of the delegations, that it will be the decisions of the mayors. And so my suggestion would be that they would be and need to be public and to be transparent to the public to see what the mayor's submissions are, much like we've had Mayor Junkin, Councillor Junkin, share his at this table. I would like to know that they would be publicly available.
Okay, so we'll take that question into account and we will get back to all of council with the answer as soon as we can.
Thank you,
Thank
Chair.
you for that. Also, by the way, I never saw you at Niagara-on-the-Lake Council. I should have said hi, but I didn't see. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I was behind you. You couldn't see me, but everyone else could,
I was looking the other way, sorry. Yeah, thank you. Next is Councillor Grant. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. So, as the Mayor of Wainfleet, I stand here before you tonight representing not just a council, but the residents, farmers, families, business owners, and seniors who call our township home. Wainfleet is a proud rural community. We are defined by our agricultural heritage, our open spaces, our shoreline, and our strong sense of neighbor helping neighbor. Our residents value independence, fiscal responsibility, and local decision-making. In Wainfleet, these are not abstract principles. They are the foundation of how we govern ourselves. The proposal of amalgamation raises serious concerns for our township. First and foremost, it's about representation. In a larger amalgamated municipality, Wainfleet would represent only a small portion of the overall population. That means fewer voices at the decision-making table specifically advocating for rural priorities, whether that's agricultural drainage, rural road maintenance, shoreline management, or protecting prime farmland from inappropriate development. Our residents deserve representation that understands rural life, not as an afterthought, but as a priority. Secondly, there is the matter of financial impact. Since the formation of the region, Wainfleet residents have consistently contributed to regional services through their tax dollars. Many in our community, however, feel that they have seen limited direct benefit relative to what they pay. Our township has unique rural needs, and too often regional funding and priorities have been directed towards urban growth and infrastructure that do not proportionately serve Wainfleet. That concern cannot be ignored. Amalgamation raises the risk that this imbalance could deepen, that more decisions, more spending priorities, and more tax dollars could move further away from our direct control and even less certainty that Wainfleet's specific needs would be met. We are a financially responsible township. We manage our budget prudently and provide services tailored to the needs of our community. Amalgamation often promises efficiencies and cost savings, yet across Ontario, many municipalities have experienced increased costs and reduced local control instead. Our residents value independence and self-reliance and are accordingly understandably cautious. Most importantly, this discussion is about the identity and self-determination. Wainfleet is not simply a service boundary or a line on a map. It is a community with its own history, traditions, and values. Decisions about our land use, our growth, and development should be made by those who understand the importance of preserving our deep rural character and our way of life. Our position is clear that residents want their voices heard locally, their tax dollars spent responsibly, and their rural way of life protected. As mayor, I'm committed to ensuring that any decision regarding regional governance reflects the will of the people of Wainfleet. Our strength lies in independence and our accountability to residents and our shared commitment to preserving what makes Wainfleet unique. Thank you, Chair. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councillor Grant. Next is Councillor Sorrento.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just some commentary, and then I have a question once I'm finished. Very short, Chair. So, Chair, since 2003, in every municipal election, residents have told me over and over again that we have far too many politicians, Chair. They've used a number of different descriptors at different points to describe us, which I'll not repeat at this time, but you can imagine. Chair, this has been a long-standing, ongoing conversation for meeting governance for over 30 years among local and provincial orders of government. We now have an opportunity to potentially make changes to our very dated, politically overpopulated governance structure, meaning too many politicians, which is what my residents have told me. I have some that are against it, but the majority want to see us downsized. A couple of short years ago, Chair, province engaged in transparent, open conversations with all local Niagara leaders, senior staff, municipal politicians, mayors, members opposite, and they came down to talk with us. I mean, surely they're not going to come down 2 times. I believe it was Minister Clark at the time came down on 2 separate occasions, and then all of a sudden shelve all this data and all of the conversations that have taken place with regard to governance, Chair. So we as leaders, if we don't do this now, Chair, when are we going to do it? And I'm not looking for an answer. In 2014, 2018, at the City of St. Catharines, specifically with regard to residents wanting to downsize politicians, we looked at a motion of a double direct, 6 full-time, 6 part-time councillors, and it was lost by 1 vote. So we were all over this during that term, but it didn't happen. So now we're revisiting this again. I don't know why this is a big surprise to everybody, considering the province was just down here for a couple of years ago, and these conversations have been going on for so long, so that kind of bewilders me, Chair. And I feel it's now time for a Niagara-based solution, Chair. And we can find our own solutions that are appropriate to downsize and to continue to serve the very residents that put us here, in my case, the great people of St. Catharines. Chair, I just want to make a comment about tax increases. Even if we don't have any governance, I don't recall a time in my last 12 years as an elected official when taxes have come down. And even if we don't go to a governance change, taxes are still going to go up. They're still going to go up. They're not going to come down. With regard to the police, Chair, it's kind of like, what do we do? We're going to say no to the police? These are the very people that keep us safe. These are the people that allow us to sleep at night, and the line between good and evil, that would be us either walking down the street, being abducted, shot, robbed, held up. And so, yeah, is it expensive? And we have to pay for it. No price for safety. So, Chair, thank you for that. And my question is this, Chair, if this does not go through, if a governance chair, my question to you, Chair, is this, and then I'll yield the floor. If governance structure does not go through with all of the mayors and all of the votes, will the province just come in and impose its own governance change?
I don't know what the province will do. I'm not the province.
Fair enough.
So thank you.
Fair enough, Chair. I'll leave it at that. I yield the floor, and I respect the comments that are made by my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sorrento. Next. I'll do that for you. That was Councillor Sorrento. He's a regional councillor. Is that what you mean? What area? He's from St. Catharines. Okay, I'll do that in the future because we have such a crowd. Next.
So, Chair, point of privilege. Someone's calling my name. Is there an issue?
I'm sorry. No, one of the people. Please, come on. Councillor Sorrento, somebody in the public just asked if I could identify what riding or what city the councillors were from, and I don't have a problem doing it. If anybody has,
That's fine, Chair.
Doing that.
Everybody knows, Chair. It's all good. Thank you.
We're good.
Thank you, Chair.
So next is
Thank
Councillor
you.
Campion from Welland. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I just had a couple of questions for you first, very simple questions, I think. I have had commentary from our council who wish to provide some information regarding this issue. And I'm wondering what the best way for that to come to you. My concern is that we do have varying views at council, or potentially varying views. So in order to get a full indication of where the councillors are, would it be your preference for somebody to say have a council meeting and then come back with the majority of council said this or that? Or would it be more fitting to have them contact you directly so that you can put it into your dossier or whatever you're going to be bringing to the province? And plus, on top of that one, again, the residents want to have some input. And, we don't have a lot of time to do this. So would it be appropriate for the residents to also forward directly to you so it can be included in whatever you're bringing to the province?
For the residents and for your councillors, but I would prefer they send it directly to me or through you, whatever's the fastest way. Email, whatever works. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. I just wanted to, because I've got to get back to all these people. And I may be disappointing you here, Chair, but in answer to Councillor Kaiser's questions, I've actually already published all of my documents that I've sent to the region. And I think I have the ability to do that. You don't have to comment on that, Chair.
No, I will.
I just want.
If I may, Councillor Campion, I was going to contact every mayor or have my staff contact every mayor and ask their permission, but as long as the mayor's here, I'm still going to do that. Have my staff contact every mayor and make sure it's okay with them. It should be, and we'll release them publicly. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's very important for transparency purposes, and I will continue to be doing that as we correspond. And what you've just indicated to me, I will also be bringing that back to my council and to publishing that so that if people have an avenue or a conduit to get their information to you for this process. So a lot of people are saying a lot of the right things, need for change, etc. I just want to, and I agree with a lot of those things, but change doesn't happen unless you make a decision to change. And I, as Councillor Greenwood, I've been around a little bit longer than she has with respect to being on a council. So I was first elected in 1991, lost an election, re-elected. So I was on council in and around the late 90s and 2000. And at that time, there was a report came down to the region, I believe, that's so long ago, I have to put it into perspective, and it was related to what's the best model for governance. So and this is my opinion, but I think I'm pretty accurate with this. The issue here for me anyway is reducing red tape, reducing councillors, and moving forward. The way to do that back then was to eliminate a level of government. So, and this, I'm not in the best form to be saying this, but it's a matter of, do you want to have a two-tier government or do you want to have a one-tier government? And the one-tier government is the best governance model, because when we put in regional council, I'm assuming that what was behind that is you've got a lot of communities that can't afford a whole bunch of these services. So back then, Welland had, police department, and back in the day, we had our own water treatment plants. We had all of those services because we could afford it. But if we want to eliminate this level of government, so the upper tier, we have to be able to provide a little bit more sustainably ourselves to be able to do this. And so so essentially what I see this is an amalgamation is simply a byproduct of eliminating a level of government, because we have to have critical mass in order to be able to pay for those services. There's still a need for municipal services now on a larger scale, like waste collection, wastewater management, and all of those things. So there's a need. But if you look at the very basic part of what those services are, it does not require political oversight. It's a service system. So where are we going to get those services from? There's a better model to use in order to achieve what we can afford. We combine those costs with other municipalities so it becomes more affordable. But it doesn't need political oversight. The political oversight has to come from local area municipalities. As I say, this is a byproduct, amalgamation. What my position on this is, we really need to eliminate a level of government, and that being the regional government. So this is an unfortunate, perhaps, byproduct, but the concerns that people have about losing your identity, losing, where was I born? And I use this concept is, if I ask somebody, where were you born? I was born in Stony Creek. Oh, where'd you go to school? I went to school in Flamborough. Okay. And now we live in Ancaster. Those are all communities within a larger community. So what you have at that point is a very easy governance model, because now you have a government that's going to be taking all of this information from those districts and dealing with them. So if you can spread out the representation, so we'll just say if Welland is combined with two other municipalities, I would expect that the name of the municipality would probably change to, something like the city of Niagara Center or something like that, which is comprised of Welland. There's still a sign that says Welland. There's a sign that says now you're going into Port Colborne, and then there's another sign you're going into Thorold. These communities remain, and they will have the proper representation if it's established properly. So when we're talking about, we have too many politicians, we can eliminate more than 30 politicians with a single stroke. Sorry, folks, but I get paid by the region. I get $44,000 a year or something from the region. We have to make a decision. Are we willing to give that up? I am, because this is probably the fourth go at this that I've been involved in since the late 90s. And it always comes down to exactly the same thing. Disagreement amongst municipalities. Who's going to be the senior municipality? I don't see there's going to be a senior municipality. There's going to be a municipality that is combined communities. And if we do that properly, everybody has the representation they need. They maintain their culture. They maintain what they look like. And it's a simplified form of government. So we're reducing that significantly. What's the cost savings on eliminating politicians? Minimal, probably. However, the result of that in the streamlined services, in the streamlined governance, saves money in the long run. We stick with what we're at now. We see that this other level of government is going to keep expanding, and more costs and more things associated with it. If we can get down to this other model, it's a long-term solution. So as I say, governance was put in place, or I believe regional government was put in place to assist. It's a transitional form of government. It's not supposed to be there forever. And I think that's why we're seeing the provincial government saying, we got to get rid of these two-tier governments and get them back into single-tier governments. And so by eliminating that, it's a transitional period. How do we transition? I think we transition This is why I picked the 4-city model. When they start looking at it, it could turn into a 3-city model or a 2-city model. I don't know what it's going to look like. But we want to be able to maintain the ability of smaller municipalities to maintain their identity. If we went to a single model, you lose that identity very quickly. So we can do all of those things, but it's a transitional form of government for me. We need to get back down to the single tier where we have better governance, we have a more easy to use governance, and it will address a bunch of issues with regards to business and people being able to make their way through government. And it also keeps the people. We're not going to eliminate a lot of people, but some of those delivery systems can be changed so that they're less expensive. I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place because I don't have a written thing down here. I just want to be speaking on this. So this is why
Councillor Campion, you got about half a minute left, if that's okay.
Yeah, okay. I figured that was going to happen. So yeah, just to put it very clearly, I'm explaining why I'm supporting this model. It's about eliminating a level of government, not about, gee, I want to create this little kingdom over here. So I want to put that forward. Food for thought for anyone else that's listening to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Campion. Next is Councillor Rigby from St. Catharines.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for this opportunity to speak related to what I think is a very important piece of work that this board has to do. And that's to start talking and being reasonable and to work and to see what's the best answer for all of us. I have been known, actually, I'd rather, Councillor Greenwood and Badaway, they were here when I was here at a little bit even before they got here. But they both know that as a mayor, I spoke just as some of you are going to be addressing the public on your plans, and our mayors do too. But I had that opportunity the first year I was mayor, and so I addressed them as best I could, and then I completed my discussion by announcing to them that I personally believe that the best answer for our communities is to be one and be all one operation throughout the region. Now, I want you to know, I do believe that, but I believe what's more important is that we take the time and have discussions. And I'm willing to suggest that I might see a way of doing it another way. But by the end of November, I won't be here and you won't have to worry about me. So that'll be fine too. Mr. Chair, I thank you for that. I did want people to know that it's been since I was the first year of my mayor that I indicated that the community of Niagara would be the best option for all of us. Now, lots has changed since then. I don't know the dollars, and I'm certainly not an expert on calculations. So, but I'm looking forward for all of the information that you have received and given by some very hard work by a number of our members that will be very useful to see where are we better suited to continue to be in the business of looking after Niagara. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Rigby. Next is Councillor Secord from St. Catharines.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the time. Excuse me. Appreciate the time to talk about this
This is not a new idea. We've been discussing it for years. When I was on St. Catharines City Council for many years, we had public meetings and discussions on more than one occasion while I was there. Other councils have done this as well. The region has reports on the shelf gathering dust that we all know about, so this is nothing new. What we are is we are presented with an opportunity for change. We can take it or leave it. Will we be foolish to sit back and let it slide by us? Positive and meaning discussions need to take place. Let's look at how our systems work between the region and the municipalities. Let's ignore the noise and the negativity, because change is never easy and it's something we need to do. What is really important here is what we could change. Government services in Niagara are complicated and confusing to most. Growth here is severely hampered and burdened by local government processes and bureaucracy. Regional council is too big. 32 members or 31 members from different interests is not ideal, and that's my opinion. All of us have sat on committees, and the ones that get the work done are 10 or 12 people, so again, my opinion. What I'd like to see is I'd like to see a timetable for public, municipal, and regional council input, representation at the regional level based on population, reviews of any duplication, reviews of services and infrastructures, and what I believe, having been involved now in local government for many years, that the status quo here is not sustainable. Niagara is not an easy place to do business. Councils, again, with working groups, 10 to 12 are best. This is not going to save us money. I have no qualms about that. I believe it's about being more efficient and stretching our dollars now. But I think we can do better here in Niagara. And just a couple of things. Mr. Chairman, you have succeeded in filling the room here, and I think this is important. We've talked about this, as I said, for many years. The room has never been full. So hats off to you for doing that. And I think, you laugh, it's important. We all have to get involved. And when I sat on committees, we talked about dual duty counselors. We talked about all sorts of things at St. Catharines. The gallery was empty. Nobody was interested. People need to be interested. People need to be involved. And hats off to anybody that's came here tonight to listen to us. And but we need to start to talk. And we need to get some ideas together. Maybe it doesn't happen, but we better take the chance while we can. The last thing is, and the one thing I was thinking about, and I think about Niagara Lake because I used to have a business down there, and the Seacords are from Niagara Lake way back when. And you worry about, I hear smaller municipalities worry about identity. Well, I started to think about it. We have Glen Ridge, Merritton, and Port Dalhousie, and St. Catharines. You all know where those places are. But you also know where Chippewa is, you know where Virgil is, you know where Jordan is. So just keep that in mind. I don't believe anybody's identity would be lost if we went forward. I can see the no's from the mayor of Niagara Lake, and you're entitled to your opinions too, but where's Port Dalhousie? You know where it is. It's part of St. Catharines. Where's Glen Ridge? You know where it is. It's part of those communities. Our communities are still strong. You want to go to Port Dalhousie and talk about a strong community? Ask me about when they wanted to build a tower back there 20 years ago, and you think there's a lot of people here now. We filled the Parkway in. There was standing room only. Everybody, so that's the kind of communities we have in Niagara. They're not just in St. Catharines, they're everywhere. So I just want to make that point, and again, thanks for bringing this to the table, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Councillor Secord. Councillor Bateman from St. Catharines.
Thank you, Chair. And for the record, we did fill the council chambers when we tried to support Palestine. But Chair, my question is for you. What authority did you have to send her a letter like this?
Okay, just hold on one second, please.
No, I don't necessarily need to be from your notes. I'm asking you.
It is going to be
what
from my
authority
notes.
you had to send a letter
It's
like
going to
this.
be from my notes. Thank you. Thank you. Under sections 227, 229 of the Municipal Act, I am fully within my legal authority to do so.
To do what?
Okay, I'll read you the whole section. I sent a letter. I do not need authority to send a letter, and neither do you. I am using the authority of the chair to lead a conversation, compile the feedback, and formally request that the minister consider specific options for Niagara. The legal power to restructure sits with the provincial government. The province ultimately decides any restructuring, not me, though they have said that they want a made in Niagara solution. My role as chair is to gather information, listen to councils and the public, and clearly convey Niagara's options and concerns to the minister. That's exactly what I've been doing at councils, in conversation with the public and business, and it is what I am doing tonight. I'm exercising my responsibility to advocate for Niagara, to put forward serious models, and to ask the province to make a decision with full information. And to further underscore, like I said, under sections 227 and 229 of the Municipal Act 2001, I am fully within my legal authority to do so. To reiterate, I did not ask the province to take any action at this stage. I did ask the mayors to take action and provide their feedback. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to clarify this point.
Why did you omit our council?
Why did I omit
Why
the
did you omit
councilors, you
sending
mean, or the?
that letter to members of your own council?
I sent it to the mayors so that they could get.
Why did you omit sending that letter to members of your own council?
I'm answering your question.
No, you're not. You're talking
Okay,
about
could you
mayors.
stop for a second? I sent the letters to the mayors so they could get their councilors to respond to them.
We do not report to our mayors. We were elected to this council to represent our constituents here for the items that, like public health, like infrastructure, like corporate services, like policing, like Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority. Why did you omit sending that letter to members of this council?
I was also instructed by the province to get responses from the mayors, gathered them from their councils.
So you were instructed by the province.
Could you stop?
No,
for a
I want to
sec?
be
You
very
want me to
clear.
answer you, or are you going to keep interrupting me?
Well, Chair, I'm hot, I'll be honest.
Okay.
You sent this letter, then you called this meeting. I should be at my son's concert right now, but I am here listening to this at your urgency. So I am not pleased. So I want to know, now you've said the province has instructed you to speak to mayors about this and ignore your own council. That is what the province instructed you to do.
That's not what they said, but go ahead.
Nope, let's hear it.
No,
All
go
right,
ahead.
fine, you've said it already.
Thank you.
So I have shared your letters, I want to be very clear, Chair, your letters and emails with the Ombudsman, as I think that you are not acting in the best interests of this organization, nor are you following any bylaws approved by this council. Specific to this meeting, you have presented.
No, you have to stop or I'll recess the whole room. Please do not.
You have.
Thank you.
You have prevented public and thus, and participation, and you have stated that members of council are only allowed 5 minutes. This is a public meeting. You stated that in an
I changed
email.
it to 10 minutes.
You stated that in an email. We prepared for 5 minutes. So don't pretend that you did one thing, because you did another thing through email for us. You prevented public participation. We should have delegates here tonight based upon that letter, and we do not. They are not allowed to speak at this public meeting. That is brutal. What I hope to see from you as appointed chair of this council is a complete turnaround, treating every member here with respect and courtesy that we deserve, because we represent our constituents. I ran, and I had the same amount of people to elect me that Mayor Cisco did. I had more people to elect me than I think our MPP. My area is greater. So we worked very, very hard, sometimes with no money. With small children at home, it is a lot of work, and I deserve the respect that you are not showing us right now. So, you speak about savings of taxpayers' money and make motions instructing our agencies and boards to bring budgets down to 3.5%. But your attendance at meetings throughout the budget process was shoddy at best, Chair. Even when we gave the entire budget to you, you were not able to reduce the costs in line with your motion. The letter you sent to only certain members of this council, namely mayors, regarding the dissolution of councils across our region was reckless and caused harm to municipal organizations across Niagara. Without regard to any member of regional staff, you've caused fear, stress, and anger. You have put this organization at risk along with every other municipality in Niagara. And we face a lot of risks. We face cyber attacks, we face, but that's the big one for me, Chair, is cyber attacks, because they cost organizations millions. I will ask that the public pay close attention to members of council who say things like, we need to make changes, and talk about ballooning budgets and being sacrificial lambs out of one side of their mouth, and eagerly vote to waive development fees in the amount of $1 million as quickly as they are asked. What we need is a new deal from our province. This is where the chair should be using his relationship with the premier to talk about a new deal for councils across our province. When I look around this council, I see farmers, I see nonprofit creators, I see educators, teachers, business owners, entrepreneurs, professors, police officers, nurses, lawyers, and bankers. These are people who live and work in our community. We know our city and its residents. Social housing. Ontario is the only province where social housing funding is largely downloaded to municipalities. Healthcare and social services. Rising costs of public health, childcare, long-term care are heavily borne by municipal budgets. These are changes that this province has brought to us that we are bearing the cost of. And by we, I mean we have no choice in the matter. Do we support housing and long-term care, or do we let it go because the province has let it go? The Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, always at risk. Loss of their ability to collect development charges that go to pay for needed infrastructure that makes our cities livable. That is what this province has done. The loss of services like recycling for small businesses and groups like our Legions, they are bearing the cost of changes to our development, or to our recycling program. We're changing our recycling program. It's like the most basic thing. We put tourism above all else in Niagara, and that makes our province rich. And this weighs heavily on the services that we provide. They are services that our residents pay for, like police, EMS, public health, and infrastructure. The province gets rich off of tourism, and municipal taxpayers bear the burden of that. Chair, I'm asking that staff provide a report to council listing the many areas where the province has downloaded services and be brought to council for review, with the intent that we endorse a new deal for municipalities across the province. This is something that the Association of Municipalities has been asking for a very long time. Municipalities face real threats outside the general work that we do. We are high risk for cybersecurity and ransom attacks. We hold an immense amount of personal data, and I feel that it was so reckless of you to do this, and the way you approach this has put every organization at risk.
Thank you, Councillor Bateman. Next is Councillor Easton from Lincoln.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I want to thank all of my comments in engaging in thoughtful comments. Certainly a spirited conversation and very warranted. I respect the views that have been expressed, and I also want to thank members of the community that have come in person to listen to the debate. It was certainly like Old Home Week out in the front of the building, and there's a lot of enthusiasm, and I think you can thank yourself for that. The town of Lincoln has always strived to deliver high-quality services to our residents at an affordable rate. This probably began back years ago with our ratepayers pretty much coming from an agricultural community. That has changed significantly over the years in terms of the level of small business and small manufacturing, many with global connections, I might say. The principle that the work we do daily to better our residents' lives with all of our decisions, whether it's infrastructure, community programming, planning, or economic development, prevails. And I want to be clear that those guiding principles will remain at the forefront of every conversation we have regarding governance review. We cover quite a large area of geography, but it's pretty clear that Beamsville, Vineland Station, Jordan Station, Camden, and Rockaway, like a number of other municipalities that are amalgamated and have lived with that reality since amalgamation, since the region was formed. They have not lost their own spirit when it comes to speaking up and letting us know that they must not be forgotten. They must not even one be forgotten. They have their own agendas, and we eventually, our plan is to eventually get into every area on a priority basis. Our commitment to residents doesn't change, and we'll continue to focus on delivering high-quality services. And I say that because I think our taxpayers need to be respected regardless of what process is going on. Everything has to be in order, and we commit to that. I've been public in my support for a governance review, and that is not changed. It's prudent upon us as elected officials to consider what structure will best serve Niagara over the next 50 years, rather than relying solely on how we have governed over the past 50 years. A single tier would be very helpful. It would be much less complicated. I don't believe that we need to have an amalgamation of clusters. And there have been a number of maps that have been floating around for the last few days, and there are some interesting combinations. These are easy things to sort out, technically. However, there are methods by which we can share work very intently in clusters and share responsibilities. And I might add, an area that I think we should be very concerned about is the whole area of accountability to the province. In fact, I have said several times this week, I don't know of any other organization that has branches, consider us branches instead of children, who pays attention to what we're doing and how we're doing it. I think we do a pretty good job for 12 branches that are doing our best for our communities. Our services are delivered differently, and the high-tech world in which we live means we can do more with less government. And probably after my generation, there won't be any issues with people talking to the town hall because it'll be pretty high-tech. People still like the personal touch. But let me emphasize that while I'm supportive of a review, it has to be thoughtful. This is just a little bit too, it's too much, too soon. I express that to you with the best of intentions, Mr. Chair. And it's based on what we can best serve the communities that we represent. These people are not here because they like to stand out in the cold. They are here because they seriously want to be heard, they want to have input, and they are know of all the ways that can be used to ensure that that happens. There's a constant conversation about no savings, and the reports are out there and we've all read them, and people are being guided to them, and they should read them. But we also have an equal responsibility to understand the change that also comes with behavioral change. And our ability to increase accountability. I will say that again. And that has to be sustained because there are excellent ways to go about this, and there will be savings. There will be savings. However, if no one is paying attention to the ongoing methodology of how that change will be managed, how it will be supervised, and how it will be reported, then we are just wasting our time. We might as well stay right where we are. I do favor a four-city model, but I believe that the opportunity is there for this four-city model to be really considered clusters of communities working together and with independence, paying our own bills, paying our debts, and buying services where we need them. Nobody should be getting freebies. we should be very careful with the business model that we set up in this regard. I had an opportunity to chat with former Chair Debbie Zimmerman. I'm not just throwing her name out in a cavalier manner. She said that I could certainly refer to our conversation because I knew that her position had evolved over the years. Unlike Councillor Rigby and my colleague to the right. But she is a person whose opinion has evolved. She continues to see how communities evolve, the type of staff that we have in our communities and their capabilities. And we talked about how her own position did evolve, and she was against amalgamation altogether, couldn't see any value to it at all. But she also favors a review, and she sees the case for change. I think that's the most important element of this. I know that change is very hard for people to accept, but we cannot continue as we are now. And I'm a person who believes that we not only have a lot of information, if we ask for information, if we're specific about what we ask for, we will not only get that information, we then can add to that information. If we can add to the information, we can evaluate it. If we can evaluate it, we will have an accountable model. And so I will evolve my own opinions about this, but this is where I'm standing right now. On Monday night at Lincoln's council meeting, my colleagues, in a very even-handed and very, very direct conversation, talked about the importance of engagement. They asked for more consultation, more communication on what this process will look like, and I support their comments. It behooves us to ensure that all voices are heard and that changes to governance here in Niagara, as the Premier stated, is a solution that comes from Niagara. However, I don't know what the Premier is planning. I do know one thing: he expects to hear from us. I think that's good enough at that level. So equally important is understanding the future role of the region and the services that are delivered at the regional level, including infrastructure, social services, and policing. They are fundamental to our residents' daily lives.
Sorry to interrupt, Councillor Easton, you have half a minute left.
Okay.
Thanks.
So I think you know the direction that I'm going in. I urge my colleagues to remember that misinformation abounds, and it's up to us to contribute to correcting where we can. We need to be cautious. Our staff are listening. We need to be respectful of those who work in this community and those that work on a day-to-day basis and are impacted. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Easton. Next is Councillor Redicott from Fort Erie.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think my position is pretty clear, and I think the town of Fort Erie's position is clear. We stand for effective, efficient delivery of services to our residents, and we recognize the obligation to continuously review our performance in that regard. We also do not support forced amalgamations, and we also, in the final analysis, believe that we fiscally and administratively can stand alone as a single-tier municipality if necessary. There's no magic to me in 1, 4, 5, 7, any number of municipalities. I did want to say, though, Chair, that you mentioned tonight that you were instructed by the province to send letters to the mayors. If that's what you said, and if that's what you meant to say, that's not what you said Monday night at the council in Fort Erie. I did want give an opportunity to all of the directly elected representatives here, an opportunity to speak before I spoke, Chair, because I want to put an amendment to the motion to receive on the floor. I've provided that amendment to the clerk, and I'd ask her to put that up. It's an amendment that is seconded by Councillor Yep. So I'm going to read this, Chair, because there are people who will be listening to this who won't see the graphics here. But the motion that I've moved, seconded by, or amendment that I've moved, seconded by Councillor Yip, and this is to the motion to receive. Whereas Regional Chair Gale has confirmed publicly that he is not engaged in any discussion with or received any directive from the Premier of Ontario or the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing regarding a governance review in Niagara or potential municipal amalgamations. And whereas there has been no data, business case, or specific information presented that would confirm any anticipated cost savings, efficiencies, enhanced services, or improved outcomes for the residents of Niagara as a result of any proposed governance changes. And whereas significant decisions on local government that will have a multi-generational impact and should be informed by comprehensive public consultations with Niagara communities. There's something missing there. It's not quite grammatically correct. And whereas Premier Doug Ford has publicly reiterated on February 25th, 2026, that, quotes, if it's going to go, and that is governance changes, then it has to be from Niagara, by Niagara. It has to have approvals from the majority of mayors, has to have approved for majority of the elected officials, end quotes, and further that, in quotes, and hopefully 70 to 80% of the population agree, end quotes, which implies the necessity for public consultation and support on any proposed governance changes. Now therefore be it resolved that a governance review of Niagara be initiated to address areas of duplication and improve service efficiency based on data, a business case with financial analysis, and public consultation, including local area municipalities, commencing this term of council. And be it further resolved that Regional Council directs Regional Chair Gale to refrain from any further action and utilization of any further regional resources or staff time, with the exception of the above governance review, in connection with the review of regional governance or municipal amalgamation. And finally, and be it further resolved that this resolution and amendments be forwarded to the Premier and the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. So, Chair, I put that on the floor. It's pretty self-explanatory. Everyone here seems to agree that there's a need for a review of governance, there's a need to review services, and there may be something further that comes out of a governance review. This is somewhat the direction you were going, but it's going to rely heavily on data, a business case, which the residents of Niagara, all 525,000 plus or minus, deserve, not just word from you from 12 mayors, elected mayors, by the way, but we can't speak for our communities without any meaningful public consultation. So that's on the floor, Chair, and I would seek the support of members of council so that we can at least move forward with this and address the concerns of the majority of councillors. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So Councillor Redekop, I want to check with legal first on item number 2, whether that's legal to have in there, that I can be forced that way.
Well, I think we can direct you what to do, Chair, and that's exactly what this is doing because
I'm asking legal, Councillor Redekop. Councillor Redekop, please.
Chair, in response to your question, I would offer that it is not unusual for council as a majority to direct the regional chair to take certain steps on behalf of council. Council acts in this manner on a regular basis.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the first on the list is Councillor Yip.
Thank you. Just very quickly, no one I've spoken with over all the years I've been engaged in municipal politics has suggested that there isn't some need for change. At the same time, no two people I've ever spoken with have agreed on what that change should be. What we know from the last week is that very many people are vehemently opposed to the way this process has been unfolding. This amendment serves as an opportunity to pursue change that residents of Niagara want and with their valuable input rather than having change foisted upon them. There is a way to do this. What's happened over the last week is not the way.
Thank you. Next is Councillor Steele.
Mr. Chair, call the question.
Do you have a seconder? Councillor Zalepa. Now there's a vote on calling the question. Clerk?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
We got to vote on whether or not to call the
To
question.
call the question first. So,
Through you, Chair, we're voting on calling whether or not to call the question. The vote is open.
Okay, so that passes, and then we have the motion, but Counselor Secor, did you want something separated? 1, 2, and 3? We certainly can.
Recorded vote, Chair.
Yep, on
Recorded
all
vote.
3? Okay. So this is on item number 1, Clerk?
Calling the vote on clause 1. Counselor Badaway.
Yes.
Counselor Bateman.
Support.
Counselor Campion.
No.
Counselor Kiokio.
In favor.
Counselor Crater. Counselor Diodati.
No.
Counselor Easton. Counselor Foster.
Support.
Counselor Ganan. Counselor Grant.
Support.
Counselor Greenwood. Counselor Height.
Support.
Counselor Encina. Counselor Yip.
In favor?
Counselor Jordan.
In favor.
Counselor Junkin.
Yes.
Counselor Kaiser.
In favor.
Counselor Olson.
Yes.
Counselor Redicott.
Yes.
Counselor Rigby.
Yes.
Counselor Seaborn.
In favor.
Counselor Secord. Counselor Cisco. It's gone. Counselor Sorrento.
No.
Counselor Steele.
Yes.
Counselor Ugolini.
Yes.
Counselor Villela.
Yes.
Counselor Whalen.
Support.
Counselor Witteveen.
Support.
Counselor Zalepa.
Yes.
That is carried.
Okay, and now item number 2?
Counselor Badaway.
Yes.
Counselor Bateman.
Support.
Counselor Campion. Is he still there?
You're on mute, Counselor.
No.
Counselor Kiokio.
In favor.
Counselor Crater.
No.
Counselor Diodati.
No.
Counselor Easton. Counselor Foster.
No.
Counselor Ganan. Counselor Grant.
No.
Counselor Greenwood.
No.
Counselor Height.
Yes.
Counselor Encina.
No.
Counselor Yip.
In favor?
Counselor Jordan.
In favor.
Counselor Junkin.
Yes.
Counselor Kaiser.
Yes.
Counselor Olson.
No.
Counselor Redicott.
Yes.
Counselor Rigby.
No.
Counselor Seaborn.
Support.
Counselor Secord. No. Counselor Cisco. Still not here. Counselor Sorrento.
No.
Counselor Steele.
Yes.
Counselor Ugolini.
Yes.
Counselor Villela.
Support.
Counselor Whalen.
Yes.
Counselor Witteveen.
Support.
Counselor Zalepa.
Yes.
I think that's carried.
That's carried.
Okay, and item number 3?
Counselor Badaway.
Yes.
Counselor Bateman.
Support.
Counselor Campion. Sorry, I didn't catch it.
No, sorry, no.
Thank you. Counselor Kiokio.
In favor.
Counselor Crater.
Yes.
Counselor Diodati.
No.
Counselor Easton. Counselor Foster.
Yes.
Counselor Ganan. Counselor Grant.
Yes.
Counselor Greenwood. Counselor Height.
Yes.
Counselor Encina.
Yes.
Counselor Yip.
In favor?
Counselor Jordan.
In favor.
Counselor Junkin.
Yes.
Counselor Kaiser.
Yes.
Counselor Olson.
Yes.
Counselor Redicott.
Yes.
Counselor Rigby. Counselor Seaborn.
In favor.
Counselor Secord. Counselor Sorrento.
No.
Counselor Steele.
Yes.
Counselor Ugolini.
Yes.
Counselor Villela.
In favor.
Counselor Whalen.
Yes.
Counselor Witteveen.
In favor.
Counselor Zalepa.
In favor.
That's carried.
Okay.
So now we need to vote on the motion as amended.
Where was the motion?
This is the amendment. This is the amendment here. Now we need to vote on the motion as amended.
For receiving the report or what?
The whole thing, if you're receiving it in this.
Okay. So now we're going to vote on the motion as amended. Is that to be recorded, Councilor Redekop? Councilor Redekop, do you want a recorded vote on this one too?
A recorded vote on the,
Motion that's amended.
well, I think there are still speakers to the motion, the main motion. I think there are still speakers.
There's the speakers list there.
Is there? Is that the speakers list? Okay, thank you. I thought that was for that one. Okay, are you done, Councilor Redekop? Okay, Councilor Badaway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm happy to make some comments based on not only the current situation, but my experience in having been up to 30 years now in all levels of government except for provincial, and having gone through this process for many, many times, over 4 to 5 times now since 1994. But I'll say this, I supported this motion, and I thank Councillor Redekop and some of the folks that were involved in putting it together, because governance must always evolve. But evolution should be thoughtful, Mr. Chairman, collaborative, and grounded in responsibility. Before considering structural changes, our obligation is to ensure that regional governance is operating efficiently, effectively, transparently, as well as inclusive, not exclusive. Strengthening shared services, improving coordination, reviewing structures, and eliminating duplication and constructive steps. Modernization is responsible leadership. Structural overhaul should never precede due diligence. Municipal governments are democratically elected, and they're accountable. They're accountable to their residents and their businesses. They are partners within the broader provincial framework, within the regional framework. They're not subsidiaries. Any conversation about governance reform must, and I mean must, reflect that respect. If there are opportunities to improve how we deliver services across this region, a world-class region, Niagara, let's not forget that, and how we got to be who we are today. But let us put a clear, transparent process in place together. That means engaging residents, businesses, and local councils in an open review of regional operations, regional governance at this level, and giving the respect to the municipalities to do the same at their level. Identifying efficiencies and affirming municipal autonomy throughout the process. Once again, respect, Mr. Chairman. Niagara's brand has been built over generations on local pride, distinct identities, and collaborative leadership. Mr. Chairman, our responsibility now is to strengthen that foundation, not dilute it. The path forward is, in fact, cooperation. It is, in fact, fiscal accountability. It is, in fact, measured modernization, ensuring Niagara's future continues to be shaped by the communities that call it home. Now, I do want to make a second point. Mr. Chairman, the letter that you wrote to the province is a letter that's, and I'll be very clear about this, from Bob Gale. That's fine. It's no different than Councillor Greenwood, any member in this gallery, anyone from Niagara, to send a letter off expressing their thoughts to the province of Ontario. I don't have a problem with that. And to some extent, I even respect everybody's opinion, regardless of whether I agree with it or not. But I want to make it very clear, that letter is not from Regional Council. It is not from any one of our 12-member municipalities. You don't have that authority, frankly. The last thing I may want to add, and being a part of an upper level of government for close to 10 years, May I suggest that in the future, that when you send such a letter, you send it with data to then therefore be credible. And not only credible in terms of as an individual, but even to some extent, because you do hold the position as chair of this region, credible in terms of the Niagara region. Secondly, the info packages that you're going to receive, whether or not they're being asked for by the province, once again, they're being received and forwarded by Bob Gale, not the regional chair. Regardless of what that recommendation 2 says, the province is very clear that under the Municipal Act, as well as our procedural bylaw, that the information that would go to the province would only be directed by this council. So therefore, anything that goes to the province by you or gathered by you that is forwarded to the province is by Bob Gale, not the regional chair of Niagara. Secondly, is the correspondence protocol. Again, under the Municipal Act and quite frankly our procedural bylaw, any correspondence received by the regional chair that's to be forwarded to members of council is forwarded to the clerk and to members of council. It's placed on the agenda as correspondence with an expectation to receive as information, as it was tonight, and properly done so. And then, of course, from there, amendments can be made on that motion to receive with respect to the correspondence. Any correspondence that Councillor Yip had forwarded to the regional chair, and I would only assume that it was also the intent to go to members of council, should have went to members of council. That's the rules. And you don't have the authority to break those rules. Lastly, having your chief of staff at the front of this horseshoe is not appropriate. I've never seen it. I was a mayor and regional councilor for 14 years. This is my 15th year on regional council. I've never seen a member of the regional chair staff sit up there. It's not appropriate. That's my opinion. I just don't think it's appropriate. My final comment is this, Mr. Chair. This process, and any process, is about leadership. It's about leadership that you are to possess and having the privilege to sit in that chair. And it's leadership that we all want to put forward as members of council, but even within our communities. And I congratulate and thank the people that come out tonight, because you in that vein are showing leadership as well. But the most important part of leadership is collaboration. Working together and ensuring that while we work together, we progress. And I'll borrow a comment from the Prime Minister just recently, and Councillor Steele used it the other day at council meeting. It took it away from me, man. If we're not at the table together, we're on the menu. Okay? And the person that's looking at that menu is the province of Ontario, in particular the Premier. But he was very clear when he was in Niagara the other day. He said that it's up to Niagara, and I give him that credit. So it will be up to us, not just regional council, not just the 12 municipal councils, but Niagara, regardless of what stage you may stand on. So let's be involved. Let's work together. And let's ensure that the Premier hears loud and clear what Niagara expects. That's leadership. That's what we're all about. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We are going to recess this meeting now. Hear me out before you. We're going to recess this meeting because we have to legally start the council meeting, and then we'll come back into this meeting, but we have to do it before 7 o'clock. So we don't need a motion to recess the meeting. And then do we need a motion to get into regional council, clerk?
You just need to call the regional council meeting to order.
Okay. So I'm calling the regional council meeting to order, and then do we have to recess that one?
Yes.
Then we're recessing the regional council meeting, and then do I,
And then you're calling this meeting back.
So
and I'm calling this meeting.
Point of order?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I guess the proper word, Madam Clerk, would be to suspend, so that way we can come back into it, versus
Suspend the regional council meeting.
suspend the committee of the whole meeting.
Okay, but then
Then
we
go
went
into
into regional council.
And then that allows
and
you
we're
to come
coming
back, continue.
Sure. So now we're back into regional, we're in regional council right now?
Back in this meeting now.
We're back in this meeting again, okay. So now it's up to Councillor Encina from Fort Erie, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll keep my remarks brief. There are several councillors here that I really agree with. One of the things that, as I sit back and listen, and one of the things that bringing this forward has done, it has started the conversation. Regardless of what side you're on, regardless of what your belief is, the conversation just got started again. It's happened so many times before. But my hope tonight is that we carry it forward the next day, tomorrow. Are we going to do this? Are we going to let this opportunity pass? Are we going to take the next step, perhaps at corporate services, and say, let's take a look at this? And why not? Through you, Chair, I came up with a proposal. I haven't sent it yet. The proposal looked at the number, and it's been the number of seats at this table to start with. And the other part, I looked at two-phased approach. If we look at that, look at ourselves first. If we can say, can we get by with 12? Even better. But let us start the procedure. Let us start the process. And then, if other municipalities want to reach out and do the same thing, then that's great, and I applaud them for it, and perhaps maybe they should. What I really believe, and now this is coming from, I don't think I've ever heard myself say this before. Engage in a group like KPMG. Take it out. Imagine, I know, consultants. I know, shame. If we went to an independent organization, take it out of the hands of politicians. Go to a group or an entity and say, look, we want you to take a look. And in the meantime, everybody still has the local area municipalities are intact. Take a look at it. Dig deep. Don't just do a surface glance. Dig deep and do a cost-benefit analysis of everything. If it works out that the numbers don't fly, then so be it. It's status quo. But if the numbers come back differently, then that's the way we move. But what I'm looking at is, if this is going to be the first step, and I really hope it is, because we've heard from everybody who's been around the table for many years, it's been talked about, we're doing this, we're doing that. If we let this go tonight, if we don't follow it up at our next committee meeting or whatever, the opportunity is going to be lost. And I really hope that does not happen. Because let's go to the forefront. Let's take the lead. Let's look at ourselves first. And if it's, as Councillor Junkin said, if it's a weighted vote, then that so be it. But at least we take that step forward. And through you, Chair, I'm going to wrap it up and leave it at that, because we've heard all kinds of stuff, and my stomach's a bit grumbly too. So I'm going to leave it at that. I know, I'm thinking about myself.
We want to get this meeting done if we can. Thank you, Councillor Encina. And next is Councillor Diodati from Niagara Falls.
Thank you, Chair. And my points here are largely moot, but I'm going to say them anyway, because I think some of these things need to be said based on some of the comments we heard earlier today. And I want to start by saying I appreciate and respect everybody's opinions. And I did try to do my own research. And what I'd like to say, Chair, is I think the residents of Niagara are taxed to death. I hear this everywhere I go. We pay too much tax. We don't get enough value. We have a very high debt and costs to service that debt. We have a very high ratio of employees to residents. We have a very high ratio of municipal politicians to residents. So I've got some statistics, and I've rounded them for simplicity. And by the way, these statistics come from the FIR report, FIR Financial Information Returns, and that's issued by all the municipalities to the province. That's where these numbers come from, if anyone wants to look into them. But we can see Niagara has, and again, I rounded these numbers, one municipal politician for 4,200 residents, whereas Hamilton has one for 37,000. Toronto has one for 108,000. So fact being, we've got a lot of politicians. I think we all know that. We also have quite a few employees per resident. In Niagara, we have 20 employees per 1,000 residents. Hamilton has 14 employees per 1,000 residents. So Niagara has got 43% more staff per resident than Hamilton just up the road. Niagara's residential tax rate is 14.2% higher than the provincial average. And if we look at the mean, where you correct for the highs and lows, it's even worse. We're 17.7% higher for residential. It gets worse with industrial. In industrial or jobs, our industrial tax rate, we're 24.3% higher than the provincial average. And when you look at the mean, we're 41.7% higher for industrial. So how are we going to attract industry when we've got those kind of tax rates with no end in sight? In the Niagara region, as of 2024, we're carrying $2,100 debt per person. In Hamilton, their latest public figures, they're at $600 debt per person. I don't know, that looks like some significant savings to me. I don't support Niagara moving to one city at this time. And I know there's a lot of studies that have been done, including the former CAO of the region, who's an accountant and an MBA, who was also CAO of Grimsby in Fort Erie, who lives in Niagara-on-the-Lake, supporting a one city, showing that we'd have savings of $30 million per year. But I don't support that one. And I'll tell you why I do support a 4-city model instead of that, because it creates cities large enough to handle the responsibilities of a single tier, but yet you're still connected to the unique communities of Niagara. And for those of you saying there hasn't been meaningful public consultation, I respectfully disagree. The Berkeley report of the year 2000 that the region did, then we had a review of regional government structures by special advisors from the province, Ken Sealing and Michael Fenn, in 2019. And then we had Provincial Standing Committee in 2024, where they had public consultations and all the elected officials had an opportunity to provide input. And by the way, folks, it's your job. You've been elected to represent the people, not go back to them every time you want to make a decision. That's like, tell me where you're going and I'll lead you there. The idea is that you are elected to represent them to make good decisions, not ask them every time. Otherwise, you're not leading. We need to lead by example and stop circling the wagons and shooting inward. We need to fight for our residents and stop worrying about our political jobs. If I got to lose my job in this process, I'm happy to do it because it's the right thing. I don't think there's really any right or wrong, and there's going to be a lot of solutions, but there's no right and wrong. There's just effective and ineffective. We need a model that will maintain municipal identities, reduce politicians and costs, and increase levels of services. That's what I'm looking for. I think that's what everybody would hope for. And I just want to share a quick story, Chair. A good example for Niagara Falls during the last amalgamation was Chippewa, and that was mentioned earlier. The village of in Niagara Falls, Chippewa, and it's always maintained its strong, unique identity. It's an amazing part of Niagara Falls. And after amalgamation in 1970, they have always maintained their elected representation when we were a ward system. And what's the result? It's been the recipient of more government dollars per capita than the greater city of Niagara Falls. So they get representation and they get investment. The city's been able to maintain their strong identity under that model. I don't think people care who plows the roads. They just want them plowed. The future of the region, unfortunately, folks, is going to include double-digit tax increases. And I hear everyone around this horseshoe saying, we can't afford, we have an affordability issue, homelessness issue, they can't afford rent, they can't afford buying a house. Well, we are on path to make that much worse, because when we address our situation with 50% of our infrastructure for water, wastewater in poor or very poor condition, and the list goes on, we're on a path to double-digit massive tax increases. Go ask your residents if they support that. Wait till tax time comes and they get their bills. And I don't want my kids and my grandkids to inherit this mess because we're afraid to make tough decisions for the future. sorry, folks, we can't shy away from what's right. And I'll leave my comments there, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Diodati. Next is Councillor Ugolini from Thorold.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank all those in attendance. I wish we had this at every council meeting, a turnout like this. And I just want to say that residents are speaking. I can't tell you how many emails I've had, and you see what's here tonight. And all the people that I'm hearing from are totally opposed to amalgamation. So if I'm listening to the people, that's what I'm hearing, okay? And that's an important aspect because we're supposed to be listening to the people. So, Chair, respectfully, your views on amalgamation are entirely inconsistent with and do not represent the position of the City of Thorold. We have consistently communicated our stance against amalgamation in previous governance reviews, and this is my third one since I've been mayor. It is critical that any discussion or correspondence reflect actual positions of all municipalities involved. And I can't stress enough that's been mentioned today about consultation. And consultation not only includes politicians, it includes businesses and our residents. And I think we've heard loud and clear that that has to be an instrumental part of all this. As I said, the City of Thorold expects to be consulted and included in any dialogue that impacts our community, and we will continue to advocate firmly for not only our interests, but for the interests of all Niagara. And it's important to set this record straight because I'm hearing debt and you're leaving this for your children and this and that, but I can tell you this, the tax increases and deferred capital backlog referenced by Chair Gale are at the regional level. They're not at the local municipality level. The City of Thorold operates efficiently, manages its finances responsibly, and remains steadfastly committed to fiscal discipline. And the point I want to make here is that end of this year, we will have zero debt, zero external debt. Any debt we have is borrowing against our own hydro reserve. So we don't have a problem. The problem's here. So what does that mean? So now I move forward and say, I'm all for being part of the solution. And I want to make sure that Niagara's strong. And I do believe that the two-tier level of government is important because there are certain services run at the region that are critical. So how do we start? Well, Premier Ford always talks about number of politicians. Well, if that's an issue for you, let's deal with it. But I'm not going to tell you how many politicians we need. I know one thing, that if we need to have less politicians, I'm all for that discussion. Number two, there's low-hanging fruit. And low-hanging fruit is stuff that's been talked about, and my colleague, Mayor Junkin, eloquently talked about that, and that was regional roads. And he talked about water sewer, on how we could approach that. And if you look at what the province has done in Peel, those are two items that they moved on. They moved on. First, they moved on planning. Planning is now back at the local level, and we're doing a hell of a job with it. And then you can look at roads, you can look at water sewer, whether we make a commission, utility, or whatever. Let's study that and let's get it done, but let's get it done right. So there's all kinds of opportunities here. I want to be part of the solution, but I don't think blowing up something like the City of Thorold that's a role model for all of Niagara is the answer. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Councillor Ugolini. Next is Councillor Steele from Port Colborne.
Thank you, Chair. And as many around this table know, I've been vocal on this since last Friday after we received the letter from you, Chair. Our staff, our council, and myself have been working diligently since then every day. We've met with our fellow mayors, a number of our fellow mayors, across the region. And I do thank you, Chair, for meeting myself and my CAO, Brian Bowles, yesterday to get some information and exchange information. To Councillor Kaiser's point, our response to the chair and the minister will be posted on the City of Port Colborne website. That was discussed in our senior meeting, actually, as far back as last Monday, that everything goes on. Last Tuesday, I made another statement with regards to this issue. At that time, I gave your email address because that's what you asked for, and as well as the city's address, my address, for those that want to comment on this. And we've received numerous emails, and majority of those have gone to you, Chair. Again, all but one have said no to amalgamation in the city of Port Colborne. However, the majority of those that said that also agreed that we should be looking at things. And I think Councillor Uglini hit the nail on the head, as well as Mayor Junkin, or Councillor Junkin. So I'm going to leave it at that. I really appreciate our non-mayor regional councillors for having their say today, because quite frankly, they weren't given their say. And I do agree with what was said by those regional councillors, and I appreciate everything you said. Again, we all have our opinions of what's going to happen. I do look forward, as Councillor Encina said, let's start this tomorrow. Let's move ahead. There are low-hanging fruit. The city of Port Colborne has been working on a wastewater program with a public utility that's municipally owned, municipally operated, and we know if we take our water sewer back, we can save our ratepayers in Port Colborne. We can take our 5 roads back that are left that the region looks after and save quite a bit of money from what we send to the region. When Councillor Badaway was mayor, we took over numerous regional roads at that time. Again, at that time, back in the mid-2000s, we saved a lot of money for the taxpayer of Port Colborne. There are ways we can save taxes. Again, those services that we all need to buy that we can't run on our own can work out very easy. We need to come to an end of this. I thank Councillor Redekop and Councillor Yip for bringing the amendment forward. I think it says it all that we need to start now, but we need to gather information, make sure that what we send to the province is specific to what needs to be done in Niagara, has the data to back it up, and have the province move forward with those changes. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Steele. Out of respect for the people in the crowd, I'm going to keep this meeting going. There's only a few more speakers unless somebody else gets on. So next is Councillor Zalepa from Niagara Lake.
Great. Thank you, Chair. And just to speak to the motion, very supportive of it. Pleased to see it here. Thank you very much. My comments are well known on the topics that we've been talking about the last week or so. My council's weighed in, the community's weighed in, the broader community in Niagara's weighed in. I'm actually very encouraged. Councillor Badaway, thank you for the inspiring speech. I'm ready to jump off the table and get some things done. I think I heard a willingness to not live with the status quo. And I want to thank Chair Gale. This is not an easy thing. Chair Gale led with himself to get a conversation started. And it's maybe not the way and path that we thought, but I saw a sign that said democracy is a little messy. It is. But you know what? We're going to get to a conversation that the Premier wants to hear a Niagara solution. It's incumbent on us to do this. We cannot let this opportunity go by because affordability is a significant concern. And that I'm hearing. And so I really appreciate the comments from around the room. I thought there were some really excellent points made by everybody. Now we're going to get to work. We can do things better in Niagara. We have the ability. We are a global place to invest. I see that in my community. I see it in your communities. And we need a high-level service entity to deliver the things that are important to our residents across the Niagara region. So I'm just leaving it on a positive note. I think that's what this is, a positive note. I appreciate everybody's comments, and I'm hoping we bring everybody to the table because that's what it's going to take. But we need to make significant change. So thank you, Chair, and I look forward to voting for this.
So, well, I'll say last, but there might be somebody else that tags in. Councillor Jordan from Grimsby.
Thank you, Chair Gale. First off, it's interesting following Niagara on the Lake because the first town meeting in Upper Canada was actually in Grimsby, April 5th. April 5th, 1790, 4 years before Niagara on the Lake. But I agree with many of my colleagues here, and first and foremost, I was really happy that our regional councillors who were left out were able to speak tonight, and like others have said, collaboration is where we start at the region. And in Grimsby, our council meeting on Monday, 8 of 9 councillors were against amalgamation. So it's pretty uniform, I think, around this place. But anyway, we support efficiencies in Grimsby. We're the smallest geographically municipality. So adding a lot of space may not make sense for us. We're going to look at the numbers. We're going to look at the numbers, how we can do it most efficiently for the residents of Grimsby. And whatever that plays out, I think now is the time to work on fixing this and work on collaboration and working with a Made in Niagara solution for Niagara. And I think I'll end it with that. And I think we can go forward and do much better from here. And I'm willing to roll up my sleeves and work with everyone else. Thank you.
For Jordan, I see no other speakers, so we'll have a vote on the motion, please, electronically. I'm sorry? Oh, you want to record it? Okay. Recorded vote, please.
Counselor Badaway.
Yes.
Counselor Bateman.
Support.
Counselor Campion.
Nope.
Counselor Kiokio.
In favor.
Counselor Crater.
No.
Counselor Diodati.
I'm opposed.
Counselor Easton. Counselor Foster.
Support?
Counselor Ganan. Counselor Grant.
Support.
Counselor Greenwood. Counselor Height.
Support.
Counselor Encina.
No.
Counselor Yip.
In favor?
Counselor Jordan.
In favor.
Counselor Junkin.
Yes.
Counselor Kaiser.
In favor. In favor.
Counselor Olson.
In favor.
Counselor Redicop.
Yes.
Counselor Rigby.
Yes.
Counselor Seaborn.
Yes.
Counselor Cisco.
No.
Counselor Secord. Counselor Sorrento.
Opposed.
Counselor Steele.
Yes.
Counselor Ugalini.
Yes.
Counselor Valella.
In favor.
Counselor Whalen.
Support.
Counselor Witteveen.
In favor.
Counselor Zalepa.
Yes.
And that's carried.
Thank you. So are there any items of other business? I don't see any. So the next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, April 9th, 2026 at 6:30. I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Bateman.
That's okay, Chair. I have asked for a report at this meeting for
Oh, yes.
the
Okay.
downloaded, everything that has been downloaded for the province, specifically to this term, but happy to have the last 8 years if staff can pull that together.
I don't have a problem with that. Can I just do it by direction?
I'm
Okay,
hoping, yep.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
We're good with that. And Councillor Yip, could you respond to Councillor Yip about the email she sent through, please?
Through you, Chair. So now that you've sent those, I'll actually update the agenda for tonight and put those out publicly.
Thank you, Clerk. It was the chair's role to send those along to you.
Thank you. So there being no further business, this meeting's adjourned. This crowd has been excellent. Thank you very much.
What time do you want to start council?
You tell me.
20 minutes?
Okay, council will start in 20 minutes. So it's, say 7:25, okay? 7:25 for council. I'm sorry, 7:35 for council. 7.